Song Ji-hwi hates me, yet he spends a fortune to support me. It's just that my face bears a strong resemblance to his white moonlight. I thought we were just satisfying each other's needs. After paying off my debts, I decisively fled with 8 male models. Unexpectedly, there was a plane crash, and I died by accident. At the funeral, Song Ji-hwi announced to everyone, "She is my wife, and we will be together forever." That night, the heir of the Song group was found to have committed suicide at home. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the age of 16, the year Song Ji-hwi met his white moonlight. The young man rubbed a photo in his hand and murmured to himself, "I must marry Chao Ziyuan. My name is Chao Ziyuan." Sitting in the familiar high school classroom, I stared at my reflection in the window, wearing the blue and white school uniform. I was stunned for a long time. Is it true that I've been reborn? What are you daydreaming about? Can't you solve the math problem? Call me Brother Song, and I'll teach you. Someone gently patted the back of my head. I turned around as I heard the voice and met Song Ji-hwi's handsome but irritating face. Just a moment ago, my soul was still floating in the air. I watched helplessly as Song Ji-hwi, dressed in a disheveled suit and with a pale face, held a fruit knife against his artery. His eyes filled with a paranoia and madness I had never seen before. "Chao Ziyuan, does it hurt? Wait for me. I'm coming to accompany you." I couldn't figure it out. Song Ji-hwi is my benefactor. He spent money on me, invested resources in me, and single-handedly turned me into a top actress. Others say that he loves me deeply. What they don't know is that on countless nights filled with passion, this man would take off his suit and viciously bite my lips. "Chao Ziyuan, I really hate you. If it weren't for the fact that you look somewhat like Yao Yao, I wouldn't even give you a second glance." But if someone hates another person, how could they commit suicide for her? Or could it be, "Song Ji-hwi, don't you secretly love me?" I slapped my thigh, suddenly realizing something. The young man had just finished playing basketball and returned to his seat. When he tilted his head back to drink water, his smooth neck was fully exposed. Upon hearing my words, his actions froze. He coughed violently, and his ears turned red all the way to the base of his neck. You. Just as the atmosphere was getting awkward, a slender white hand held a piece of tissue and placed it between him and me. "Here you are. Don't drink so urgently." The voice was so gentle that it seemed to drip water, completely different from my bold and unruly manner. The girl had shoulder-length hair, and her eyes, which were just like mine, looked at me with a hint of reproach. "Sister, how can you make such a joke casually? You scared him." It was Gu Qingyao, my half-sister. She was also the white moonlight that Song Ji-hwi couldn't forget many years later. Too, in my previous life, I once asked Song Ji-hwi this question, "You're so good to me. Do you like me?" At that time, I had just finished a night scene and was starving. Song Ji-hwi stood in the kitchen wearing an apron, calmly pouring oil and cooking noodles. "Don't think too much. We're just getting what we need from each other." The man's voice was cold. "Oh, that's for the best." I drawled and smiled heartlessly. "Keep your heart in check, Song Ji-hwi. A person can't be so cheap. After being dumped by me once, how could you still come crawling back?" Song Ji-hwi was so angry that he took out the support agreement from the bedside table and threw it at me with a cold face. "Shut up, Chao Ziyuan. You're good for nothing except for that face of yours." Hardly anyone would believe it. In this love game where I was a substitute, I was the one in control. Song Ji-hwi and I were childhood sweethearts. In our sophomore year of high school, he blushed as he confessed his love to me. Out of curiosity, I agreed. We had a period of affectionate time together, but soon, there was a traitor within the Song group. The capital chain broke, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy. Song Ji-hwi was forced to transfer schools. Before leaving, he almost pleaded with me, "Can you not fall in love with someone else for my sake?" I had a blank expression as I resolutely broke free from his grasp. "We were just having some fun. Don't take it seriously, okay? I've been pampered since I was a child, and the person I marry in the future should also be of the same social status. If you weren't from the Song family, I wouldn't even look at you. Besides, now that the Song family is on the verge of bankruptcy and you have nothing, do you think I would wait for you?" I still remember the look in Song Ji-hwi's eyes, a mixture of sadness, anger, and disbelief. Gu Qingyao, who had always had a crush on him, didn't hesitate to give up her place of being recommended to a prestigious noble academy and resolutely went with him, accompanying him through 3 long years of hardship. It's easy to imagine, the more Song Ji-hwi hated me, the more he loved Gu Qingyao. Through the torrent of time, When I saw the two of them together again, I suddenly had an epiphany and thought of a way to break the situation. Since God has given me a chance to live a new life, instead of having a love-hate relationship for more than 20 years and still ending up badly, it's better to match up the true lovers. To be fair, although Song Ji-hwa says one thing and means another and is extremely stubborn about his pride, he is actually a very nice person and deserves a healthy and beautiful relationship. After thinking it through, I patted Song Ji-hwa on the shoulder, acting like we were good buddies. Ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. How could young Master Song like me? Class is about to start, let me copy your homework. I didn't do well in my studies, and Song Ji-hwa specially applied to be my deskmate to tutor me. Occasionally, when there wasn't enough time, he would let me copy his homework first and then explain it to me in detail later. But this time, he snatched the workbook away and, with a dark face, spat out 3 words, "Do it yourself. Since you called me young Master Song, do you really think you can copy the young master's homework?" I could hear the sarcasm in his tone and pouted, saying, "Tisk, you're more petty than a sesame seed." Humph. Song Ji-hwa didn't take the tissue from Gu Qingyao. Instead, he grabbed the handkerchief I had placed on the table and casually wiped his mouth. At that time, Gu Qingyao had just transferred in. And Song Ji-hwa didn't care about her as much as he did later. Seeing her stamping her foot in frustration and preparing to leave, I took a deep breath and spoke up at the right moment. "Gu Qingyao, let's switch seats." Huh. Gu Qingyao looked at me suspiciously. Are you willing to separate from him? Song Ji-hwa and I had a bond from growing up together since childhood. We often played around and were as close as Siamese twins. Many classmates in the class assumed that we were a couple, but we just hadn't made it public. There are other people who do well in their studies besides him. My voice was calm as I drew a clear line with that one sentence. Song Ji-hwa was obviously anxious. "Come on, is it just because I won't let you copy my homework? You can't be this serious when joking around." I forcefully pulled the handkerchief back from his hand and calmly started packing my school bag. "I'm serious. I'll go and talk to the head teacher after class at noon. You haven't helped me much. Sometimes, when you talk too much, it even affects my studies. In short, I don't want to be your deskmate anymore." Song Ji-hwa couldn't adapt to my sudden change. "I don't agree." His facial features were profound, and when he looked at me with a gloomy face, a sense of oppression came over me. Gu Qingyao looked at me and then at him. She asked cautiously, "Are you two quarreling?" I dug my nails into my palm and tried to make my voice sound calm. "Song Ji-hwa, don't act like we're breaking up. We're just friends. Where I sit and who I switch seats with are my own business." After I earnestly proposed to the head teacher several times, Song Ji-hwa and Gu Qingyao finally sat together. Song Ji-hwa had a gloomy face for several days and ignored everyone, looking as if someone owed him 8 million. I saw it and was anxious in my heart, so one day after school, I stopped Gu Qingyao. "You like Song Ji-hwa, right? I'll help you chase him." She didn't agree immediately. "You're not using Song Ji-hwa to take revenge on me, are you? After my mom married your dad, you moved out of the Chow family's villa. I know that although you don't say it, you've always hated me in your heart." Gu Qingyao called me sister, but in fact, we weren't very familiar with each other. The memories of my previous life ended when she accompanied Song Ji-hwa to transfer schools. I don't know why the two of them didn't end up together in the end. She went to the UK to pursue a master's degree and became the white moonlight that Song Ji-hwa couldn't let go of. "You're thinking too much." I was surprised by her imagination. "I really don't like you, but it was my dad's choice to divorce and remarry, and it has nothing to do with you." Gu Qingyao's delicate eyebrows twitched slightly. "Fine, my dear sister, then tell me, how can I catch up with Song Ji-hwa?" The corners of my eyes curved into a smile, and I spilled out the details like pouring beans from a bag. "He can't eat spicy food, his favorite fruit is cherries, and his most interesting subject is mathematics. He often plays basketball in his spare time. You can go and watch his games, but he won't drink the water given by girls. The best way is to fill his water cup before he comes back, so he won't have a reason to refuse. Oh, and the most crucial point is that he's afraid of dogs, but there are several stray dogs on the way from school to his home, so you can have the nerve to walk him home, and he definitely won't refuse." Scenes from the past between Song Ji-hwa and me flashed before my eyes. Our families lived close to each other, and we had been walking to school together since kindergarten. Every time a small dog passed by on the road, he would reflexively hide behind me. He held my hand tightly. "Dog, it's so big, Xiao Ziyuan, protect me quickly." I couldn't help but look down on him. You're such a coward, look how scared you are. Finally, I patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. Don't be afraid, when I become a big star, I'll take care of you. As the little dog walked away, Song Ji-hwi let out a long sigh of relief. He tilted his head and thought for a moment. Then I'll earn money to fund your movies. I happily high-fived him. It's a deal. I can't forget that quiet summer night, with the warm light of the street lamps shining down. The little Song Ji-hwi suddenly turned his head and said seriously, Xiao Ziyuan, we have to stay together even when we grow up. I talked until my mouth was dry, and Gu Qingyao benefited a lot. Why are you helping me? She asked. I smiled. You two are a perfect match. My dad didn't have much interaction with Gu Qingyao, but in my previous life, when I was in a desperate situation, I received an anonymous transfer of money. It was from London, UK. I knew it was from her, but I didn't touch that money. Gu Qingyao likes Song Ji-hwi, so I'll help her as it suits the situation. Consider it as repaying a favor. Gu Qingyao was very action-oriented. The next day, she put into practice what I had told her. She brought cherries for Song Ji-hwi, filled his water cup with water at the right temperature in advance, and cheered for him hoarsely on the basketball court. Song Ji-hwi's attitude towards her changed from being polite and distant at first to joking and playing around. It seemed that they had become very familiar friends. Once, after evening self-study, I secretly followed them. I saw Gu Qingyao walking beside Song Ji-hwi with a wooden stick and gently comforting him. Some people are afraid of dogs, but actually, dogs are more afraid of people. Stray dogs are really pitiful. Song Ji-hwi stared at her for a while, and a gentle smile curled up at the corners of his mouth. Thank you, Gu Qingyao. Under the dim street lights, the young man and woman walked side by side, and the scene was particularly warm, but I took several deep breaths. There was no joy of achieving my wish as I had expected. I just felt pain in my eyes and in my heart. 5. After school at noon, Song Ji-hwi and Gu Qingyao went to the cafeteria for lunch together. The sound of their laughter made my heart feel stuffy. I stood up abruptly and decided to visit my mom in the psychiatric hospital in the suburbs. As soon as I entered, I saw her wearing an ill-fitting hospital gown, sitting in the yard basking in the sun. My dad, dressed in a suit, stood beside her and said in a low voice, as long as you give up the division of property and leave the house clean, I will support Yuan until she gets married and give her the best education within my ability, but if you insist on being delusional and fighting for it, a hint of threat crept into the man's voice, then I will give up her custody and let her fend for herself with you, a crazy person. My mom smiled bitterly. Do you really have to push me to a dead end and even threaten me with our daughter? My dad coldly retorted. When dealing with abnormal people, you have to use abnormal means. Don't you? Fine, as long as you treat Yuan well. She chooses the second option. I raised my voice and interrupted my mom, angrily staring at this heartless man. I will live with my mom. We should get every penny of the property that belongs to us. Yuan, don't say such angry words. Her schizophrenia and anxiety disorder have a very high genetic probability. Only by staying with dad can you get the best treatment. My mom also held my hand tightly. Yes, Yuan, what your dad said makes sense. I'm a crazy person. You're still young and can't waste your time on me. Regardless of what illness she has, whether it's cancer or a mental illness, she is my mom. I'm not like you, a heartless man who is good at calculating. I will never leave her. I slowly exhaled and made the same choice as in my previous life. Dad, I still call you Dad. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Before my dad left, he gave me a deep look. No one can stand having someone on the verge of going crazy by their side. Over the past 10-odd years, I have been more than kind to your mom. Yuan, it won't be long before you regret the decision you made today. On the way back, my mind was in a mess. There was still more than half an hour before the afternoon class started, and the classroom was empty. I immediately saw the seat by the window. Gu Qingyao had gone out, and Song Ji-hwi was rubbing a photo in his hand, muttering something. The sunlight seemed to gild his profile, making him incredibly good-looking. At the same time, I could clearly see the person in the photo, with delicate features, a high ponytail, and a beaming smile. It was me. The chirping of cicadas filled the air, and everything around me seemed to fade away. I understood the shape of Song Ji-hwi's mouth. I must marry Xiao Ziyuan. I was in a daze for a moment. It was as if I had returned to my previous life when I had been working hard. Finally, after paying off my debt to Song Ji-hwi, I hired 8 male models at once and happily went on vacation to the Maldives. Unexpectedly, the plane crashed. My body was frozen in the mortuary for 3 days, and no one claimed it. It was not until Song Ji-hwi, who had been on a business trip, came back that he held a grand and decent funeral for me. When someone asked about the relationship between us, he stared at my posthumous photo and announced to everyone in a hoarse voice, "She was my wife, we will be together forever." The scenes overlapped. I stumbled in, "Song Ji-hwi, are you crazy?" Song Ji-hwi was startled by my sudden action, and a red flush appeared on his cold, pale cheeks. He coughed twice and didn't dare to look at me directly. Gu Qingyao said that I should take my time when chasing a girl, but I really can't stand living without you. Since you've heard it, then I'll make a formal confession. He couldn't confess. Alarm bells rang in my heart. Song Ji-hwi had been ruined by me once, and I definitely couldn't make the same mistake again. I snatched the photo from his hand and threw it on the ground. "I treat you as a brother, but you're a pervert." Song Ji-hwi stood there stupidly, feeling both ashamed and annoyed. After a 2-minute silence, he let out a sigh. "Okay, I was abrupt. I apologize to you." He picked up the photo and carefully blew off the dust on it. He grabbed my wrist and made me sit down, his peach blossom eyes full of concern. "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Did your dad make you angry again?" "Damn it, I'll go and reason with him." I hung my head. Because of his sincere and candid concern, I burst into tears without warning. "Stop liking me. I'm selfish, profit-seeking, and heartless. There will be no good end to liking me." "No, Qiao Ziyuan, it's not like that." Song Ji-hwi bent his fingers to wipe away my tears, his expression more serious than ever. "You have a passionate personality, you're loyal, and you have a kind heart. You are too many to finish listing even if I talk for 3 days and 3 nights. It's easy and happy to fall in love with you." So I burst into sobs. "But you'll die, Song Ji-hwi, you'll die." 6. Just like in the novels about reconciliation after a breakup, in my previous life, I had cynically mocked Song Ji-hwi, who had transferred schools due to his family's bankruptcy. 7 years later, at a charity gala held by a well-known brand, I was a waiter. I was scolded by the manager for breaking a plate. When I broke down and cried, Song Ji-hwi, dressed in a well-tailored suit, descended from the sky. "How much do I need to pay for it?" "I'll pay for her." "Sorry, Mr. Song, I didn't know she was yours." The manager changed his irritable demeanor and smiled obsequiously. "You donated 5 million in the name of the Song Corporation. What's a plate?" Song Ji-hwi looked down at me with a coldness in his eyes that I had never seen before. "Qiao Ziyuan, when you laughed at me for being poor and said I wasn't worthy, did you ever think there would be a day like this?" He probably wanted to humiliate me, but I wasn't the least bit embarrassed. I slowly stood up and retorted coldly, "A proper ex should be as good as dead, instead of suddenly popping up like a zombie." Song Ji-hwi gritted his molars and relentlessly chased after me. "Damn it, are you short of money? Why are you here?" I pushed him away and walked forward. The next second, an arm wrapped around my waist and forcefully pressed me against the wall. The man's hot breath was right beside my ear. "If you're short of money, I can support you. Qingyao has gone abroad, and you look somewhat like her. 10,000 yuan a month. You can be her substitute and stay by my side. What do you think?" He leaned close to my ear, his tone frivolous, deliberately trying to embarrass me. According to my character, I should have slapped him, but in reality, my mom's medical expenses were increasing day by day. I had been struggling to make it to my junior year of college by working part-time while studying. The burden of life was weighing me down, and my mom had frequent outbursts and attempted suicides. What was even more terrifying was that I was gradually losing control of my emotions. If there was no money for medical treatment, I would most likely become the crazy woman that others talked about. So after a long silence, I looked up at him and said softly, "In that case, thank you, Mr. Song." I was studying at a film academy. I originally planned to drop out and work after finishing that year to pay for my mom's medical treatment. Song Ji-hwi was as tight-lipped as a clam, although he was sharp-tongued. He helped me pay off my student loans and intended to help me debut. "Don't be stingy with the money I give you. If it gets out, people will think I'm a miserly benefactor." A large amount of resources were thrown at me. I took on acting roles and participated in variety shows. In just 3 years, I went from an unknown college student to a sought-after first-line actress, but my genetic traits began to surface, and my mental state continued to deteriorate, forced by this situation. I could only send my mom to the Maldives to recuperate first, and then unilaterally tear up the support agreement and follow her. After deducting the possible future treatment expenses from the money I earned since my debut, I transferred the vast majority of the remaining money to Song Jihuai's account, first, to pay off my debt. After all, he had helped me so much. Second, to draw a clear line with him. I was like a bomb that could explode at any moment, and there was really no need to delay him. I won't be this substitute anymore. I wrote a few big words on the bathroom mirror with lipstick. I pretended not to notice Song Jihuai's feelings for me and used the excuse of being Gu Qingya's substitute as always, afraid that he wouldn't believe it. I even hired 8 male models to act with me. So when the news of my plane crash came out, the anti-fans mocked me. How lustful is Qiao Ziyuan? Can she handle 8 male models? Is this woman letting herself go because she's been dumped by her benefactor, Sai, who doesn't know that Qiao Ziyuan is backed by the person in charge of the Song Corporation? To be honest, what does she deserve? Song Jihuai, who had never used Weibo before, specially registered an account. Qiao Ziyuan is a very professional actress. Even without me, she can shine on the screen. Those who hide behind the screen and belittle her and spread baseless rumors, the Song Corporation will hold them accountable according to the law. 7. It felt like an eternity before the shock in Song Jihuai's eyes gradually faded away. His light-colored lips moved, as if he was eager to confirm something, but the words that came out took a different turn. What do you mean I'll die? Qiao Ziyuan, what are you talking about? Nothing. I sniffled and pinched my fingertips to force myself to calm down. If I confessed that I was reborn now, Song Jihuai would most likely think that I had gone crazy because of the math problems. Then why do you look so sad? Also, why are you rejecting me? You should give me a reason. I avoided his gaze. It's because, I don't have feelings for you. I don't believe it. Qiao Ziyuan, if you have the guts, look me in the eye and say it again. I suddenly turned around and glared at him. Stop talking nonsense. I said I have no feelings. Song Jihuai suddenly pouted, his peach blossom eyes staring straight at me. He looked extremely aggrieved. The words that I hadn't finished speaking got stuck in my throat. I coughed twice. We're still students. I want to get into a good university. Falling in love will be a distraction. Okay then. Song Jihuai lowered his eyelashes. By the way, there's something I need to remind you. I said seriously, you need to be careful of your uncle. Song Jihuai, in the previous life, the Song Corporation, which had been thriving, faced the most serious economic crisis in its history. It was because Song Jihuai, who was middle-aged and accomplished nothing, was jealous that Song Jihuai, who was still in high school, was being groomed as the heir and betrayed the company's important secrets to the rival company. As a chain reaction, the capital chain broke. I stopped my words and tried to express it euphemistically. He has always been at odds with your dad. There's a chance he'll do something harmful to the Song Corporation. In short, you must be on your guard. Song Jihuai nodded vigorously. Just when I thought he had listened and my heart that had been hanging in the air was slightly relieved, the young man tilted his head and said something astonishing. You're actually concerned about my family's company. Heh, you say you have no feelings for me. If you're deliberately rejecting me to get my attention, then I'll tell you, you've succeeded. Get lost. I gave him a white look. I'm being serious. Did you hear me? Got it, got it. Song Jihuai took out a copy of 5 years of college entrance exams and 3 years of mock exams from the drawer. This is for you. There are my annotations and detailed explanations of the knowledge points for each question in it. This, a thickened version of the math exercise book. I instinctively wanted to refuse. Don't you think I'm losing enough hair already? Song Jihuai stuffed it into my hand without giving me a chance to refuse. Who just said they wanted to study hard and get into a good university? Take it. In my previous life, I was seriously biased in my studies. Math was dragging down my overall score, resulting in a low score in the general culture course. In order to ask my dad to spend money and pull some strings to get me into the School of Journalism and Communication, my mom not only voluntarily gave up the division of property but also knelt down in front of Gu Qingyao and her mom, losing all her dignity. Thanks. I secretly made up my mind that this time I must improve my grades and not give my dad a chance to take advantage of the situation. Sister, Song Jihuai, you too. The preparatory bell rang, and the classmates walked into the classroom in 2s and 3s. Gu Qingyao directly walked towards us, with a teasing smile on her face. Are you two back on good terms? Let me be nosy. Was the confession successful? In an instant, I had an epiphany and wanted to grab her collar and ask her what was going on. Fine, now I'm really curious. I taught you how to chase him, but what on earth is going on? Gu Qingyao shrugged. I did as you said. but I didn't succeed in chasing him. It's better to let you two be together, but I clearly saw that night. I saw the two of them going home together. And Gu Qingyao even helped Song Jihui fend off the stray dogs. It was just an act. If I didn't push you, when would you recognize your true feelings? I was both ashamed and annoyed. So it was fake that I helped you chase Song Jihui, and you two were plotting against me. Song Jihui showed no sign of guilt and accused me through gritted teeth. You pushed me towards someone else, so I had no choice but to resort to this last resort. Also, Qiao Ziyuan. I'm not actually afraid of dogs anymore, he said softly. I only pretended to be afraid when you were by my side. My face burned all the way to the base of my neck. Shut up, Gu Qingyao blinked, looking like a cunning rabbit. Then, do you want to switch seats back? Song Jihui quickly glanced at me and nodded vigorously. I forced myself to remain calm and fled in a hurry. No need. 8. After solving all the messy things, I focused all my energy on my studies. Fortunately, I hadn't fallen too far behind, and there was still enough time. Song Jihui always paid attention to my grades. Before school ended every night, he would check the completion of my homework. He was always available to answer my questions, becoming my exclusive little teacher. Besides him, once during a break, I was troubled by a difficult problem. Gu Qingyao, who happened to pass by, suddenly stopped. Connect point A and point C and draw an auxiliary line to take a look. Suddenly enlightened. I smiled at her, and she smiled back. In this second life, my relationship with this stepsister had improved a lot compared to before. In the final exam of the second semester of senior high school, my grades in all subjects improved, especially in math. I finally crossed the passing line, scoring 20 points more than the last time. The summer vacation passed in a flash. On the day of the start of the second year of senior high school, I couldn't report on time, because the lawsuit with my dad was in court, and my mom's mental state was not good. I had to attend as the plaintiff. This profit-seeking man had promised well, but he refused to divide the property that belonged to my mom and me. At this time in my previous life, my dad had extensive connections, and I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. After arguing my case, I only managed to get a pitiful amount of living expenses. The day before Song Jihui's family had trouble, I had just saved my mom who had tried to cut her wrists. I was completely exhausted, so when he said he was transferring schools and asked me to wait for him, I didn't hesitate to break his hold on me. In this life, the situation didn't seem to improve with my rebirth. The treatment costs for my mom were high, so I had no choice but to transfer her from the hospital ward to our home. I asked for leave from the evening self-study with the head teacher and stayed at home to take care of her. My mom's condition fluctuated. For the umpteenth time, she grabbed a kitchen knife and went to chop at the neighbor's door. I hugged her around the waist with all my strength and shouted, "Mom, calm down." Behind the protective railing, the neighbor aunt cursed at us. "Not to be mean, but can you move this crazy person out? If there's a next time, I'll call the police." As soon as I snatched the knife from my mom's hand, I didn't have time to be scared. I hunched over and apologized to the neighbor. That's when Song Jihui and Gu Qingyao showed up. If I remember correctly, Qiao Ziyuan's family lives here. The girl's words stopped abruptly. In the narrow and shabby stairwell, I locked eyes with Song Jihui, who had climbed more than a dozen floors out of breath and furrowed his brows in disbelief. The thing I was most afraid of had happened. In an instant, I froze in place, like a criminal waiting for judgment. There was a suffocating silence. Shock, regret, and self-blame alternated on Song Jihui's face. I swallowed hard and felt a strange sense of relief. Fortunately, there were no embarrassing questions that made me feel humiliated. Coming back to his senses, he naturally apologized to the neighbor aunt on my behalf. Then he helped my mom back to the bedroom. Did I see it wrong? Song Jihui's outer corners of the eyes are so red. Is he feeling sad? But it's me who's embarrassed. What on earth is he sad about? Gu Qingyao walked over and patted my shoulder lightly. Song Jihui was worried about you because you haven't gone to evening self-study for several days and you've been asking for leave during the day. That's why he asked me to bring him to see you. Judging from the reactions of the two of you, he doesn't know about your mother, does he? I gave a self-deprecating smile. Now that he knows, he should give up. Gu Qingyao took my hand. The warm touch spread from the palm of my hand to my chest, making me feel much more at ease. She said, "Sis, you really should look in the mirror at your current expression. You look worse than when you cry. Is it really that hard to admit that you like him? Don't think I'm meddling. I'm speaking directly because I consider you two my friends. If you have difficulties, just talk to Song Jihui. Isn't it better to solve problems and face them together? I slowly raised my eyes, my voice hoarse. What if I say that I inherited my mother's mental illness? 9. You've seen my father's attitude towards my mother. If Song Jihui and I really get together, who can guarantee that I won't follow in my mother's footsteps? Perhaps she didn't expect this aspect. Gu Qingyao stared at me and couldn't say a word for a long time. I shook my head, my voice very soft. The person you think is your significant other might turn into a deadly knife. I don't dare to take that risk. Song Jihui and I are childhood friends, but my father cares about his reputation. Under his deliberate concealment, Song Jihui doesn't know much about my family and has very little knowledge of the specific situation of my family. Regarding the matter of the hereditary mental illness, I haven't mentioned a word to him in both lifetimes. When I watched TV when I was a child, I always thought that many misunderstandings between the male and female protagonists were unnecessary. At that time, I always thought, you guys should just speak clearly, you're so hesitant when you talk. Only after experiencing it did I understand that some words are really hard to say, and we must also miss out on some things. This is also why I pushed Song Jihui towards Gu Qingyao. Being with a potential mental patient won't lead to happiness, just like my parents, at that time. We had a very unpleasant argument and said a lot of harsh words. In fact, I was afraid that I would regret it. Song Jihui is a very proud person, most likely. He won't go back to his ex. Sis, Gu Qingyao wanted to say something more. I interrupted her with a smile. Don't you like him? Why are you trying to match us up instead? Gu Qingyao snorted coldly. Even a fool can tell that Song Jihui isn't interested in me. Why should I go out of my way to flatter someone who doesn't care? She raised her chin, and her haughty expression had a hint of inexplicable cuteness. There are 20 trillion men in the world. I'm so excellent. I don't have to be with Song Jihui. I was stunned for a moment and fully agreed. That's right. Song Jihui peeked out from behind the door. I don't know how long he had been eavesdropping. Auntie has been coaxed to sleep by me. Xiao Ziyuan, I came to thank you, Gu Qingyao volunteered. Then I'll go and stay in the bedroom, you two can talk. I don't want to be a third wheel. The crisis of the Song family has been resolved, right? I asked Song Jihui. If you hadn't told me that Song Jihui was up to something, my father and I wouldn't have been able to expose him so quickly. I let out a long sigh and then laughed bitterly. Even without me, the result would have been the same. Song Jihui took the opportunity to show off. Not bad. I didn't expect you to have so much confidence in me. I looked at him with gentle eyes. Song Jihui, you've been reborn too, right? 10. At first, I just felt that something was off. I know Song Jihui too well. He's arrogant and likes to show his kindness in a roundabout way. But the Song Jihui in this life seems to have suddenly unlocked the lock on his mouth. He keeps saying sweet words. There's no reason that when I painstakingly taught Gu Qingyao the skills of pursuing a man, he not only didn't take the bait, but also confessed earlier than expected. I was truly certain of all this when I asked him to keep an eye on Song Jihui. Song Jihui didn't ask me for the reason. He didn't even have the slightest doubt. With thunderous means, he found out the handhold of Song Jihui and neatly dealt with this hidden danger. His calmness and the proficiency of his methods don't seem to belong to a high school student at all. Instead, he looks like a seasoned veteran in the business world. If he hadn't been reborn too, I couldn't think of any other reason. I originally wanted to tell you after everything was settled. Song Jihui and I confronted each other for a long time, and all the events of the past and present lifetimes flashed before my eyes one by one. I can't really describe how I feel. There's a ball of cotton blocking my chest, making me feel sour and swollen. When Song Jihui spoke again, his voice was a bit hoarse. In the last lifetime, I tried my best to climb up the social ladder, just so that one day I could be worthy of you. But when I finally got you back, I couldn't help but hold on to the words you said back then, even though I desperately wanted to reconcile with you. I was too proud to take the initiative to speak up. In a hoarse voice, he told me. I saw that you needed money at that time, so I fabricated a sugar baby agreement, determined to humiliate you. Gu Qingyao and I actually have no relationship. After transferring to our school, she chased me for a while. After I clearly refused her, she gave up. Since she went to study in the UK, we haven't seen each other again. In the shabby living room of the rental house, Song Jihui curled up on the sofa and sobbed with his hands covering his face. If only I had asked you why you needed the money. It's all my fault for being so proud and not being able to bring myself to make peace. Xiao Ziyuan, I'm sorry, your ending shouldn't have been like that. After witnessing everything, Song Jihui finally understood my insincerity, self-blame and regret engulfed him like the deep sea. I wouldn't have told you even if you asked. I gently hugged him, conveying a great deal of comforting power. As you said, human pride is really ridiculous. You were too proud, and so was I. After we reunited, I was clearly grateful for your rescue, but I didn't want to reveal my broken family of origin and my precarious mental state in front of the person I liked. Repeated harsh words pushed you further and further away. I tried my best to force a smile. It's all in the past, Song Jihui. If it weren't for you making me a top actress, I wouldn't have been able to earn the money to treat my mother, whether it was in the past life or this life. You've helped me a lot, you don't need to blame yourself. Holding back the urge to cry, I gripped his shoulders and said seriously, when I was reborn, I was determined to save you. I'm suffering from a serious illness and my future is uncertain, but you're different. You should have a wonderful life and definitely can't commit suicide again. It's too late. Song Jihuai's outer corners of the eyes were red, and he stared at me without blinking. Qiao Ziyuan, I've fallen in love with you. We've known each other for so many years. Whenever you were bullied, I was always the first to object. I'm afraid of dogs, and you stood in front of me. Every bit of our time together has been engraved in my mind, and I can't see anyone else but you. I reached out to cover my eyes, but the tears still spilled out from between my fingers. What do you want me to do then? I was reborn with guilt. I had a chance to start over, but I watched the tragedy repeat itself. Song Jihui. What do you want me to do? Song Jihui hugged me back, so tightly that it felt as if he wanted to embed me into his bones and blood. You fool. Can't you think of yourself for once? You're so focused on preventing me from committing suicide, but I was reborn to save you too. A tear landed on my ear, and it was hot. As long as you're alive, I won't die, he said. 11. Song Jihui hired the best lawyer to defend me. In court, my father's ugly face was fully exposed. I knew she had a mental illness and still raised her for more than 10 years. It's already out of the affection between husband and wife. Not to mention that I've been managing the Qiao group all along. Why should I give it up? I really wanted to rush up and slap him twice. Have you forgotten that my mother was once a wealthy young lady? At that time, the Qiao group was just an unknown company. You tried hard to pursue her for her support. After you used her, you just cast her aside. How can there be such a good thing in the world? The Song family holds a pivotal position in the business world. With the help of Song Jihui, those who had taken my father's bribes no longer dared to take his side. According to the civil code, my mother and I not only received half of the total assets of the Qiao family, but my father also had to give me enough living expenses regularly. I made a quick decision and moved to a house with a better environment. I also hired a professional caregiver to look after my mother 24 hours a day, so that I could go to class with peace of mind. Song Jihui was worried about my mother and me living alone. He came to visit us frequently and never stopped bringing fruits and supplements for my mother. He bought a bunch of men's underwear online and had them delivered to our house. He insisted that I hang them on the balcony to pretend that there was a man in the house. I'm really worried. How about I move in and live with you? Song Jihui said anxiously. I pretended to hit him. Get lost. You're so unreliable all the time. After winning the lawsuit, my mother was in a good mood because of the happy event, and the time she was sober gradually increased. She smiled and watched us fooling around. She also comforted Song Jihui. Don't worry, Xiao Song. In a society ruled by law, if there are bad people, we'll call the police immediately. I never expected it. It turned out to be a prophecy. I did well in the first monthly exam, and the head teacher even praised me by name. After finally waiting for school to end, I was in a hurry to tell my mother the good news, so I didn't wait for Song Jihui and left first. When that drunk hooligan pounced on me, I was completely stunned. Fortunately, in my previous life as a big star, I had a lot of experience dealing with obsessive fans. I aimed at the right position and suddenly kicked him in the groin. The hooligan was in pain, and a dagger slipped out of his sleeve and stabbed straight at me. In a split second, I realized that this was a premeditated revenge. The dagger shining with white light ultimately didn't hurt me, because Song Jihui rushed over. He fought with the gangster. In the chaos, he was stabbed in the abdomen. The sound of the police siren wailed. I stared in horror as Song Jihui slowly fell. My ears were buzzing. Qiao Ziyuan, am I cool? He spat out a mouthful of blood in my arms. Am I much cooler than those 8 male models? I tried in vain to press on the bleeding wound and burst into tears. You're not allowed to die, Song Jihui. I won't let you die. that hooligan was hired by my father and Song Jihai, two frustrated people, to commit murder. Early the next morning, the police handcuffed these two people in front of all the employees from the Song families and Chiao families companies respectively. My father had schemed for most of his life, but in the end, he had to spend the rest of his life in prison. Song Jihuai's father had made arrangements with the people inside, and he and Song Jihai would receive the best treatment. Song Jihuai was sent to the hospital in time and was not in serious danger. The doctor said it would be some time before he woke up. My mother and I stayed by his hospital bed. They don't know that on countless nights when we were infatuated with each other, this person took off his suit and fiercely bit my lips. Yuan, it was my fault for trusting the wrong person regarding your father, but you can't judge everyone by the same standard. As long as we keep our mood happy, our illness can be cured. My child, you've had a hard life. I don't want to see you torture yourself anymore. My eyes were still red. Mom, I understand. I thought I could be cruel and let go, but when Song Jihuai fainted in my arms last night, I couldn't care about anything else. There was only one thought in my mind, to be with him. After going through so many separations and reconciliations in 2 lifetimes, we can't keep wasting time like this. Let's be together. The kind that will never part. As I said this, tears welled up in my eyes again. Don't cry. I accept your confession. A slender and fair hand slowly lifted up and wiped away my tears. For a moment, I laughed and cried at the same time. You're awake. Are you feeling any discomfort? Doctor, I'll go and call the doctor. Don't change the subject. Song Jihuai's face was pale, but the corners of his mouth were raised, and his eyes were shining brightly. Once I promise, I won't go back on my word. Xiao Ziyuan. We'll be together properly in this life. I'll earn a lot of money and spend it all on you. You can act and become a big star and achieve your dreams. I kept nodding and responding randomly. Okay, anything is fine. Outside the window, the cicadas were chirping. I looked at my little son. From then on, I can never look away. Story 2. Not long after I died, my childhood friend, a genius who was recommended for admission to the School of Chemistry, committed suicide. No one expected that he, who had always been calm and self-possessed, would go crazy and personally tie up the person who had harmed me, and detonate a bomb at the cost of ruining his own future. In the midst of the flames filling the sky, he murmured desperately, Yang, wait for me. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to my senior year of high school, the year when I had a cold war with him. My deskmate beside me leaned over with a smile and whispered in my ear, Song Yang, I just saw the draft paper of the top student Lin. Your name is written all over it. When we encountered a wild beast on the mountain, my best friend instinctively pushed me out as bait. I was pushed down the hillside by her. On the way, my legs hit a tree, and an intense pain shot through me instantly. Sorry, Song Yang, I will always remember you. Seeing that the wild beast's attention was drawn to me, my best friend immediately gritted her teeth, grabbed her beloved boyfriend, and fled quickly. Only I, with my broken legs, was left lying at the bottom of the slope waiting to die. Damn it. This damn love-struck girl. She said she was going to break up with him the day before yesterday, and today she pushed me to feed the wild beast. There was no one around. I endured the pain and took out my phone. The moment I saw that there was only 1 bar of battery left, despair filled my heart. It's over. I'm probably going to meet my great-grandmother. I don't know why. Maybe it was an instinct. Or maybe I was truly unwilling. I actually dialed the phone number of my childhood friend Lin Su, with whom I had been in a cold war for a year. The other side picked up the phone after just 1 ring. Hello, Lin Su's voice came from the other end, a bit cold. I'm busy. What's the matter? He was always like this, as if he wouldn't change his expression even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. But if I had listened carefully, I should have been able to find that his tone was slightly trembling when he answered the phone, just like his inner feelings. I couldn't hold it back and burst into tears. Lin Su, I'm probably going to die soon. After I die, remember to delete all my chat records and browsing history. My bank card is in the pillowcase of my room, and the password is my birthday, although there are only 52 yuan left in it. Consider it as a keepsake I left for you. There was a harsh sound of a chair scraping against the ground from the other side. I heard him quickly say sorry to the teacher on the podium, and then there were rapid footsteps. Song Yang, what happened? I didn't dare to tell him what situation I was facing. I still spoke rapidly, seizing every second. Sorry, I shouldn't have always quarreled with you. It was my fault for hitting you when we were kids. And I also stole the chocolate in your drawer in high school. I was actually quite happy to know that you were recommended for admission. After all, you're so smart, you skipped 2 grades in school. I should have known earlier that you and I are not from the same world. You've always been so cold since we were little. You've never accepted anyone's confession. I didn't even dare to say that I actually liked you a little bit." Before I could finish speaking, he interrupted me quickly. "Stop talking. I'm checking your location, wait for me." But it was too late. I watched as the wild beast approached me step by step. In the end, I died due to excessive blood loss. Before I died, I only had time to say one sentence: "Lin Su, it hurts so much." I died. The first person to find my body was Lin Su. I don't know when he installed a positioning device in my phone. When he brought the police to find my body in the mountains, it was already the afternoon of the next day. In the dusk, my body was gnawed beyond recognition by the wild beast. And it was almost impossible to tell what my facial features looked like, but he just recognized me at a glance based on my location and the necklace around my neck. The moment he saw my body, he completely broke down. I had known him for more than 10 years, and I had never seen him lose control like this. He had always been extremely steady and calm, with a cold and fair face. He had always been this since we were little. He was clearly 2 years younger than me. But he skipped grades all the way and was finally directly recommended for admission to a chemistry major at a top university. The gap between him and me was like the difference between the clouds and the mud, but I never expected that a year later, he would hold my body and cry until his eyes were red, ignoring everyone's dissuasion. Later, he asked everyone around me and learned that I had gone mountain climbing with my best friend and her boyfriend that day, but in the end, the two of them came back alive, while I was eaten to death by the wild beast. He questioned the two of them like a madman why they had left me behind, but my best friend and her boyfriend, who were feeling guilty, insisted that I had accidentally gotten separated from them. He knew that my death was definitely related to these two people, so not long after, an explosion occurred in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, resulting in the deaths of 2 men and 1 woman, 2 cowards who abandoned their friend, and a genius from the School of Chemistry with a promising future. He kidnapped the 2 of them with his own hands, made a bomb himself, and chose to die together with them to avenge me. In the midst of the flames filling the sky, he murmured desperately, "Yang Yang, wait for me." When I opened my eyes again, I found that I had returned to the high school classroom. Lin Su, my childhood friend who had just been recommended for admission, was standing in front of my seat. He was wearing a clean school uniform shirt, and his slightly long bangs covered his forehead. Looking further down, the eyes behind the thin, framed glasses were as clear as a cold spring. "Song Yang." He called my name and asked as if casually, "Did you eat the chocolate in my drawer?" I stared at him blankly. After a few seconds, I nodded vigorously. "Yeah, it was me." "So what?" "Too." Lin Su was stunned for 2 seconds, then he suddenly averted his gaze and didn't dare to look at me. You already know." "What?" I didn't react. "In my previous life, I did eat the chocolate he put in his drawer. At that time, it was popular to give chocolates as a confession. When I found that chocolate, I thought it was given to him by some girl. After all, he was good looking and smart, although his personality was a bit too cold. With the halo of a top student, he still fascinated a group of people who were attracted to intelligence. There were quite a few girls confessing to him every semester. For a moment, out of jealousy, I stole that chocolate, opened it, and ate it in a few bites. Later, when he came to ask me, I was so guilty that I refused to admit it. Then I secretly bought a chocolate of the same kind and put it back. In this new life, I decided to bravely admit my mistake. "Sorry, I ate it, don't be angry. I'll buy you another one just like it. I didn't do it on purpose, I was just jealous." I was extremely honest, but I didn't expect that as Lin Su listened, the tips of his ears turned red. "I'm not blaming you." He gritted his teeth and said, seeing that I still looked stupid. He seemed a bit disappointed in me. Just then, the class bell rang. He didn't look at me anymore and just sullenly said, "Forget it, if you ate it. You ate it, you don't need to replace it." Then he turned around and returned to his seat. I was left sitting there, stunned. When I turned my head, my deskmate looked at me teasingly. Yo, flirting with your little betrothed again." It was the same in my previous life. Because they knew that Lin Su and I were childhood friends, the people in the class always liked to make jokes about us. Every time I would get angry and deny it, and then Lin Su would treat me even more coldly. Ahem, I coughed twice. Admitting that I used to be quite fake, I said, "What? Are you jealous?" My deskmate was shocked. "Wow, Song Yang, you have such a thick skin now. Humph. Remembering that in my previous life, he had died together with those two people to avenge me, this touching childhood friendship, I think he likes me a little more than I thought. Thinking of this, I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, I had a big quarrel with him on the day the recommendation notice came out. And then we started a cold war that lasted for a year. Later, when I thought about it, it was probably the inferiority complex in adolescence that was at work. Lin Su and I grew up together, although there was a 2-year age difference. He was always more mature than me and accompanied me like an older brother. Until the recommendation notice came out, I had never been so clearly aware of the huge gap between him and me. It was a gap that I couldn't catch up with no matter how hard I tried. So after that day, a long cold war began between him and me. To be honest, it seemed more like I was unilaterally being petty and ignoring him. Every morning when I arrived at the classroom, he would still habitually put a bottle of warm milk on the corner of my desk. New notes would always appear in my drawer from time to time, and each subject was sorted out according to my weaknesses. On countless nights after the evening self-study, he silently pushed his bicycle and followed behind me, dispelling my fear of walking alone at night. Until a year later, I finally got into his school through my own efforts. Although I just barely made it through the admission, no one knew that on the day the scores came out, I lay on the bed crying until I was out of breath. It was a dark and arduous battle. The pressure of thousands of people competing for a single opportunity was always weighing on me, making it hard for me to breathe. On countless nights, I would break down and cry while doing my homework, but I didn't dare to waste time, so I had to do the problems while suppressing my sobs. Every time this happened, I would run to the balcony with red eyes and secretly look at the light in the study next door. He was there, so, even if I had to do my best, I still wanted to get a little closer to him. 3. Back in the senior year of high school classroom, I still didn't dare to waste a single second. In my previous life, the accident happened when I went mountain climbing with my best friend after the military training in my freshman year of college. At that time, the military training had just ended. Originally, I didn't want to go out to play because I thought I had gotten tanned, but I couldn't resist my best friend's coquetry. Besides, we were in different cities for college, and we would have fewer opportunities to meet in the future. So I agreed. Who knew that when we got there, I found out that her boyfriend, who had average grades and finally only got into a junior college, had also come along. Since we were already there, it wasn't appropriate to drive him away, so the three of us went up the mountain together. Now that I think about it, there were probably signs of what was to come. For example, every monthly exam in senior year of high school, as long as my score was higher than hers, she would lose her temper at me. Later, she would apologize to me, saying that she couldn't control her emotions because of the pressure. For example, every time she quarreled with her boyfriend, she would come to me crying. I felt sorry for her and advised her to break up. In front of me, she would agree, but then she would get back together with that jerk. And later, when she stayed out all night, she would ask me to cover for her. Another example was that every time I had a fight with Lin Su, she would spare no effort to undermine my self-esteem, constantly PUA me, and make me clearly recognize the gap between me and him, making me feel even more that I didn't deserve to confess to Lin Su. But aren't true friends supposed to wish you well and hope that you live a happy life? Such a so-called friend is not a real friend, but a ghost that aids the evildoer. So when the class bell rang and Liang Xiao rushed to my seat as she had done countless times before, skillfully took my arm, and said with a smile, "Come on, let's go to the cafeteria quickly and help me grab the sweet and sour pork ribs." I suddenly shook off her hand without any warning. Meeting her surprised gaze, I said coldly, "Grab it yourself, I'm not going." After saying that, I didn't care about her reaction. I turned around and went to the commissary to buy a rice ball and then returned to the classroom. Right now, it's still senior year of high school, and I still have time. In my previous life, I just barely passed the admission and didn't even dare to hope for a popular major. As long as I could be admitted, it was already a stroke of luck. But now it's different. I have a top student childhood friend. After hesitating for a while, I decided to wait for him to come back at Lin Su's seat. There was no one in the classroom at the moment. When I walked to the seat, I subconsciously looked into his drawer. Then I saw that familiar packaging bag in his drawer again. It was the same chocolate as the one I had eaten. Me, damn it, who is it? 4. When Lin Su came back, he saw me holding a chocolate in one hand and a rice ball in the other, and biting into the rice ball viciously. "Lin Su," He silently sat down in the empty seat next to me, took out a test paper from my drawer, and started writing. Seeing this, I was even angrier. Very well, pretending to be aloof. Damn it, I'll eat. I finished eating with one bite of the rice ball and one bite of the chocolate. I only felt the bitterness of the dark chocolate spreading from my mouth to my heart, and my mind started playing background music for myself. Let me think, which song is suitable? At this moment, there was a sound of someone rummaging in their pocket beside me. Then a bottle of warm milk was inserted with a straw and pushed to the front of my desk. It was December, and the temperature was only a few degrees, but because it had been in his pocket, the milk was still steaming, along with his cold voice. I never realized you liked chocolate so much before. Stop talking. I snatched the milk and took a big gulp. It took away the greasiness. Don't worry, I'll pay you back 2 pieces. No, 4 pieces. Oh, it's okay, you can eat it, he said in an indifferent tone while doing the problems. My dad brought back a big box when he was on a business trip. If you want to eat it, I still have some at home. Okay, you've grown up and learned to lie. Why did you bring 2 pieces of chocolate for no reason? 1 piece was for you. He stopped writing and turned to look at me. The other piece was for you tomorrow. Damn it, playing this trick. It's kind of touching. 5. When my deskmate and her little sister came back after having lunch together, they saw me sitting next to Lin Su and listening to him explain the problems with a serious expression. My deskmate was shocked and couldn't help teasing. I woke up too early and saw Song Yang's little betrothed explaining the problems to her. I raised my head and raised my eyebrows at her. Even if you say that, I won't break up with him. My deskmate and her little sister were immediately excited. Okay. You two are a perfect match, a celestial couple. Don't break up until you have a baby. I was used to this kind of teasing and didn't take it seriously. I turned my head and wanted Lin Su to continue explaining, but I was stunned the next second when I met Lin Su's face. I saw that his usually cold and fair face was now slightly red. After meeting my gaze, he looked away evasively and didn't even notice that the pen in his hand had drawn an arc on the draft paper. Song Yang. He called my name softly, his tone a bit flustered. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. What's wrong? I said indifferently. Don't mind her, they just like to make such jokes. Because Lin Su always had a cold face and had the halo of a top student, usually everyone didn't dare to joke with him, and Lin Su didn't know that he had a nickname of Little Betrothed. Before, I was always in a hurry to deny it, several times. I even tried to cover it up by loudly distancing myself from him in front of others on purpose. As a result, Lin Su became even more distant from me. I thought. After a pause, he turned his head aside, and his fingers unconsciously fiddled with the pen cap. I thought that you disliked me, so you wanted to distance yourself from me. So, he also didn't dare to show intimacy with me in front of others anymore. The warm milk on the corner of the desk every morning. The notes in the drawer organized according to my weaknesses, and the way he silently maintained a distance of 3 meters from me after the evening self-study. These were all the farthest distances he could think of to keep from me. Damn it, what an innocent puppy he is. I suddenly thought of our childhood. When I was in kindergarten, I told my mom more than once that I disliked the younger brother next door, because he walked slowly and was prone to falling, although he was a boy. He looked like a doll and was always bullied by other children. Because of him, I got into fights with other children many times. Even so, the next morning, he would still appear in front of my house on time, carrying a small school bag and calling me sister obediently. The chubby face in my memory gradually overlapped with the boy in front of me. The genius top student in the eyes of everyone was just my childhood friend who grew up with me. When the preparatory bell for class rang, I returned to my seat. My deskmate Jiang Yuan leaned over and asked in a low voice, "What's going on? Are you two finally not having a falling out anymore?" "What falling out?" I pretended not to know what she was talking about. Okay, it's not a falling out, it's just a little trick to seduce him." After saying that, she suddenly changed the subject and said mysteriously, "Song Yang, guess what I saw?" I was so scared that I immediately turned my head to look at the back door. And then I let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the homeroom teacher wasn't here. "What is it?" I turned back and asked irritably. During last week's chemistry exam, when I was helping the teacher collect the test papers, I accidentally saw Lin Su's draft paper. Your name was written all over it. If the preparatory bell hadn't already rung, she would have liked to turn into a screaming chicken and shake me with both hands. You didn't see Lin Su's reaction at that time. He was so shy and flustered. He immediately put it away and told me not to tell you. I was also a bit flustered from being shaken by her. Then why are you still telling me? Come on, what's our relationship? Besides, that's the top student Lin, you should secretly be happy, you little rascal. Hearing this, I subconsciously turned my head to look at Lin Su's seat, but the moment I met his eyes, I happened to meet his gaze. He was looking at me too. I don't know how many times it was, or maybe I was already used to it. When our eyes met, he seemed not to expect that I would suddenly turn around to look at him. Immediately, his eyes were filled with panic, and he buried his head as if to pretend to be doing his homework. I just turned back again, and the back of my ears started to feel hot. Secret love is an accidental turn of the head in class, but it just happens to meet his gaze. It turned out that he would also secretly look at me. But I completely failed to notice all of this before. Ignoring the teasing look from my deskmate, I pretended to be very busy and rummaged through the drawer to take out several textbooks, not noticing at all that this class was a self-study class. It was already 10 o'clock when the evening self-study ended. As usual, Lin Su silently pushed his bicycle and followed behind me, just like when we went to kindergarten as children. He was 2 years younger than me and always obediently followed behind me like a little tail that couldn't be shaken off. I turned my head to look at him, and he stopped in his tracks. At a distance of 3 meters, I waved at him. Come here, get closer. His eyes lit up, and he immediately pushed the bicycle and came over. On a winter night, he and I walked side by side on the way home. The street lights by the roadside stretched our shadows very long. Starting from tomorrow, no. Tonight you'll start tutoring me. The goal is to get into the same university as you. Yang, are you not feeling well? You want to say there's something wrong with my brain? No, there's nothing wrong with you. Then why can you get into University A, but I can't? You can. 6. Getting into University A wasn't just empty talk. With Lin Su's help, I formulated a strict study plan. In my previous life, I was only admitted with the minimum score because I performed exceptionally well in the college entrance examination and was lucky when filling out the college application form. In this new life, I want to choose my favorite major together with Lin Su, probably because God has already given me a chance to start over. It doesn't want me to cheat again. I tried my best to recall, but I still couldn't remember the college entrance examination questions that I had done once in my previous life. So without too much hesitation, I threw myself into my studies. Later, Liang Xiao came to me several times, but I fobbed her off. She thought I was still angry because she lost her temper with me after the last monthly exam. As my score was more than 20 points higher than hers that time, she still wanted to muddle through it by saying she was under too much pressure, and she said she was sorry to me, but in fact, she still didn't forget to PUA me. Although your grades have improved a lot recently, Song Yang, I'm only saying this because I consider you my best friend. There's still a huge gap between you and Lin Su. He's a genius who skipped grades and was recommended for admission. Let's not overestimate ourselves anymore. Yeah, I nodded perfunctorily. Have you finished? If so, I'm going to find Lin Su to explain the problems to me. Seeing that I completely ignored her, Liang Xiao got angry. Fine, since you don't listen to me, let's stop being best friends. She used the tactic of retreating to advance, thinking that I would coax her like I used to. Unexpectedly, I nodded and turned around to find Lin Su with my test paper. With the experience of my previous life, I didn't dare to hang out with this love-struck girl anymore. I didn't ignore the flash of resentment in her eyes when she left, although I didn't know what evil she was plotting. There were only half a year left until the college entrance examination, and I didn't want to waste my precious time on her. Soon, it was January, and the final exam was approaching. Lin Su recently had to represent the school to participate in a citywide chemistry competition and had been receiving one-on-one training from the teacher these 2 days. It was snowing on the day of the competition. During lunch, I took a short break and scrolled through my phone for a while. Then I saw that my favorite milk tea shop had launched a new product. It was a winter limited edition, and I didn't even get to try it in my previous life. After all, it was already 10 o'clock when the evening self-study ended every time, and the milk tea shop had already closed. I forwarded it to Lin Su casually, and then I remembered that the competition was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, and he should be about to leave at this time, so I didn't wait for his reply anymore. After returning to the classroom, I lay down on the desk and started to take a nap. In the past half month, according to the study plan I had formulated before, I studied until 12 o'clock every night and got up at 5:30 in the morning to recite words. All in all, I only slept for 5.5 hours a day. The dark circles under my eyes are more obvious now than before, if it weren't for chewing instant coffee to keep myself awake. I'm afraid I would fall asleep during class. The heating was on in the classroom, and I soon fell asleep. In my dream, I seemed to sense that a gaze was fixed on me. I opened my eyes in a daze, and to my surprise, I saw Lin Su. We just adjusted the seats last week, and now I'm sitting by the window. Through the window glass, Lin Su, wearing a white down jacket, was standing outside, probably afraid of waking me up. He just looked at me quietly. I don't know how long he had been looking. It was all white outside, and the snow on the ground reflected the winter sunlight. His skin was very fair, he wasn't wearing a scarf, and the tip of his nose was slightly red from the cold. When he met my gaze, his eyelashes trembled slightly. I was still lying on the desk, but my right hand had already unconsciously reached out. The moment my fingertips touched the cold glass, my mind was completely awakened by the cold. I was just about to ask him why he came and didn't come in. Then I saw that he had already raised his left hand and placed it on top of my hand. His big hands with distinct bones directly covered mine. In comparison, my hand looked a bit petite. He curled his lips slightly, as if he was a bit happy. It was a world of ice and snow outside the window, but the way he looked at me was so gentle that it seemed to be able to melt the snow. Clearly, there was still a cold glass between us, but somehow I felt that my fingertips were getting a bit hot. At this moment, he suddenly leaned forward and blew a breath on the glass. Instantly, the whole glass was filled with mist, covering his face. I thought it was a bit funny and retracted my hand. I stood up, carefully walked around my deskmate who was taking a nap beside me, and went out to see him, but when I pushed open the classroom door, he had already turned around and left, in the snowy field in the afternoon. The back of the person wearing a white down jacket almost blended in with the snowflakes. On the windowsill, there was a cup of packaged milk tea left. It was the winter limited edition of the milk tea shop that I had just forwarded to him, probably because he had kept it in his arms all the way. When I took the milk tea in my hand, it was still steaming. Did this person make a detour to the school before the competition just to give me a cup of milk tea? He didn't even say a word. He's really a man of few words. I raised the corners of my lips happily. I was just about to take the milk tea back to the classroom, but when I turned around and saw the mist that hadn't dissipated on the glass, I froze in place. On it, the two characters, Jiao, which means come on, were written stroke by stroke. The light that didn't go out in the room late at night, the alarm clock at 5:30 in the morning, packets of instant coffee that were opened, a bundle of pen refills that were used up in half a month. He saw all my efforts. He doesn't know how to say love words, nor does he confess to me. He just accompanies me to work hard together. On a winter afternoon, he stood by the window, looking at my sleeping face, and silently wrote these two words, "Come on, come to my side." 7. On the day when the final exam scores came out, I rushed into the top 10 of the grade for the first time. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Fong, stood on the podium. Smiling with many wrinkles on his face, he congratulated me with a gratified look in his eyes. "Song Yang has made great progress during this period. If this goes on, there's hope for you to get into university in next year. Everyone should learn from Song Yang." Hearing this, before I could be happy, my eyes subconsciously looked in Lin Su's direction. He was smiling. After meeting my gaze, he was stunned for a second, and then he silently mouthed the words "so great." He praised me. Then I grinned and smiled. When the other students in the class saw this scene, they all made a ee sound in unison. My deskmate Jiang Yuan leaned into my ear and said as she used to, "I'm so envious. I also really want to have a little childhood friend who was recommended for admission to University A to explain the problems to me." It's no use being envious. I tried to straighten my face, but the smile in my eyes still couldn't be held back. "He's mine, okay. Everyone is going to spend New Year's Eve together and welcome the new year. Remember to bring your top student Lin with you." She deliberately emphasized the word your. Hearing this, I realized that it had been almost 2 months since I was reborn. New Year's Eve, at this time in my previous life, because I was still in a cold war with Lin Su. I didn't go to the class gathering on New Year's Eve because I was afraid it would be awkward to meet him there. But later I found out that Lin Su didn't go either that night. He didn't go because he was afraid I would be embarrassed. He always seems to protect me in his own way. Quietly, after thinking about it, I extended an invitation to him on the way home. "Okay," he agreed without hesitation. and then he said a bit reluctantly, "But I have to go to my grandma's house first that night. Is it okay for you to go by yourself first? Am I a little kid who has to be accompanied by you?" He didn't say anything and turned to look at me. I just remembered that I had indeed stuck to his side every day since I was reborn. "I don't care, I'll act spoiled." 8. On New Year's Eve, I put on my newly bought clothes and went to the appointment. It snowed heavily on the way there, and I was still worried that it might be difficult to go back later, but when I got there, I found that Liang Xiao had actually brought 2 men with her. One was her junior college boyfriend Chen Fei from the previous life, and the other was her boyfriend's best friend Wang Xiang. These 2 were from the neighboring class. They usually acted like little hoodlums. Skipping class and going to the internet cafe were common occurrences, and they took turns writing self-criticisms under the national flag every month. It was just that Chen Fei was a bit good-looking and could speak some sweet words. He not only coaxed Liang Xiao around but also, in the previous life, handed me a love letter from his best friend Wang Xiang before the college entrance examination. He said it was for my own good, claiming that someone like Lin Su was beyond my reach. It would be better to be with his best friend, and then we could have a double date with our best friends in the future. I was so scared that I refused immediately, and she was even dissatisfied, saying that she had meant well. Later, when I thought about it, she clearly wanted to disrupt my state of mind before the college entrance examination. How malicious her intentions were. I thought it would be more lively with more people, so I brought 2 more people. "I hope no one minds," Liang Xiao said with a smile. Hearing this, the other classmates didn't know what to say. Everyone had agreed to go Dutch before coming, and now, even for Liang Xiao's sake, it wasn't appropriate to drive them away. I didn't look at them anymore and quickly walked over and sat down next to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan immediately leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Save me. It was really wise of you to break up with her. Is she hopelessly in love? I really hope she can find someone better." "You're right." I pursed my lips. Those 2 had been clinging to each other like conjoined twins since they came in, and there was also Wang Xiang beside them, leering around at the girls in our class. When he accidentally met my gaze, he even gave me a lascivious smile as if we were very familiar. Ugh, I felt even more uncomfortable. After a while, almost everyone in the private room had arrived, so the monitor began to organize everyone to play games. The game was the classic truth or dare. Since some of the classmates in the class were still minors in senior high school, no alcohol was served at today's gathering. Those who lost could choose to drink juice or plain water by themselves. We were all classmates who got along day and night, and everyone knew which couples in the class were in an ambiguous relationship, so when playing the game, we also deliberately matched them up. For a while, there was a lot of laughter in the private room, until I drew the ghost card that symbolized punishment, and in this round, the person who was supposed to assign the punishment happened to be Liang Xiao. Oops, what should we do? Our top student Lin hasn't come yet. The other students in the class were still joking. After all, everyone in the class knew about my relationship with Lin Su, and Liang Xiao seemed to have been ready for this. There was even a hint of excitement in her eyes. "Song Yang, I'm not going to make things difficult for you. Just give a hug to the person who drew the other ghost card." As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the private room looked at each other, until Wang Xiang, who was sitting next to Liang Xiao, raised the card in his hand. After exchanging a glance with Liang Xiao, he smiled triumphantly. "Sorry, the other ghost card is with me." The scene fell silent for 2 seconds, when we thought about the fact that Liang Xiao's boyfriend, Chen Fei, had volunteered to deal the cards just now. Everyone could figure out what was going on. Zhang Yang, the yellow-haired troublemaker in our class, immediately frowned and said, "Huh. This guy was also a special presence in our class." Because his family was wealthy, when he entered the school, his father directly donated a teaching building to the school, so even though his grades were terrible, he had dyed his hair unruly yellow, and he was often absent from class or late. Still no one dared to say a word to him. "Liang Xiao, are you fucking crazy, helping outsiders to bully our classmate?" As soon as these words were spoken, the other students in the class also frowned and looked at Liang Xiao and the other 2. "Yeah. Liang Xiao, what's going on with you?" Seeing this, Liang Xiao felt a bit intimidated, but after receiving a dissatisfied look from her boyfriend, Chen Fei, she still gritted her teeth and said, "It's just a game. Everyone accepted the punishment before. Why can't Song Yang take it now?" "Yeah, it's just a hug. It's no big deal," Wang Xiang beside her said with a smile as he walked towards me. He had already opened his hands before getting close, To prevent accidental injury, I pushed Jiang Yuan, who was trying to stand in front of me, found the right angle, and had already thought about how to kick him to sterilize him. The next second, the door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. Everyone subconsciously looked towards the door. Lin Su, wearing a black down jacket, appeared at the door. When he saw Wang Xiang, who had already walked in front of me, he subconsciously frowned and quickly walked towards me. Before I could react, he had already grabbed my arm and protected me behind him. At the same time, the yellow-haired guy also suddenly stretched out his righteous hand. He pressed down on Wang Xiang, who was half a head shorter than him, and then, like pushing a row of dominoes, he also pushed Liang Xiao and Chen Fei, who were behind Wang Xiang, to the ground, making them fall flat on their faces. Are you fucking out of your mind? A toad wants to eat swan meat. The yellow-haired guy was very angry. He was a bit of a ruffian, but he wasn't stupid, and he had a very righteous heart. You look like a pumpkin. Do you think you're worthy of hugging the potential student of University A in our class? The lovebird couple fell together. The two love-struck people collided, making a sound like water splashing. Damn it, who are you? Liang Zhao's boyfriend obviously knew Zhang Yang's identity and didn't dare to talk back to him, so he covered his head and stared fiercely at Lin Su, who was standing in front of me. This guy was the one who made bombs with his own hands. I thought this in my heart and tried my best to hold back the words "stay away from me if you don't want to be means blown to death" that came to my lips, and took the initiative to affectionately take Lin Su's arm. He's my neighbor's younger brother who grew up with me. As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Su's body stiffened a bit, but he didn't shake off my hand. And the other students in the class also realized what was going on and began to accuse Liang Xiao and the other two. Liang Xiao felt extremely embarrassed. She subconsciously wanted to take Chen Fei's arm, but Chen Fei shook her off. Do you want to make me lose more face? After saying that, he glared at Liang Xiao, stood up, and quickly left the private room. Seeing this, Liang Xiao immediately got up and followed him. Only Wang Xiang was still pressed to the ground by the yellow-haired guy. Meeting the yellow-haired guy's murderous gaze, he was so scared that he confessed everything. It's not my fault. Liang Xiao said she had a single best friend and wanted to introduce her to me as a girlfriend. Hearing this, the aura around Lin Su instantly turned cold. Just you. He only said these 3 words, but it made Wang Xiang's face turn extremely embarrassed. In an instant. Damn it, you're ugly, but you have such wild thoughts. The yellow-haired guy also kicked him angrily. At this moment, there were only people from our class in the private room. Wang Xiang knew he was in the wrong, and he didn't dare to say a word after being kicked. He just slunk away. The remaining people looked at each other, then at Lin Su, whose face was colder than usual. Everyone gave up the idea of continuing to play, and one after another advised me that it was getting late, and it was time for our top student to go to bed, so I should take him home quickly. Me? Am I some kind of dog-taming master? There was no other way. I had to lead Lin Su away. Before leaving, I didn't forget to give Jiang Yuan a look. Don't think I didn't see that she was the one who sent a message to Lin Su before the game started. Receiving my look, Jiang Yuan gave me a look that said, "Sister, I understand you." Humph. So you're the one who understands everything, right? I followed Lin Su out of the KTV. The heavy snow outside still hadn't stopped. On New Year's Eve, there weren't many cars on the road. How did you get here? I asked Lin Su. He didn't say a word, only the snowflakes on his shoulders that hadn't melted answered my question. In the cold winter, coming all the way here from his grandma's house, it was obvious why he came. Don't worry, I wasn't bullied. He remained silent. You came just in time, and everyone in the class was there. They wouldn't really just watch me get bullied. He still didn't say anything. If you're going to be sulky like this, then I'm leaving. After saying that, I turned around and walked away quickly, but before I took 2 steps, I stepped on the snow and slipped. Seeing that I was about to fall and touch the ground, I subconsciously reached out and grabbed Lin Su's arm. Seeing this, he also subconsciously grabbed me. However, the force has an equal and opposite reaction. He caught me, but he lost his balance. Moreover, the road was really slippery in the snowy weather. So with a bang, he held me in his arms, and the two of us fell into the snow together. The snowflakes landed on the back of my neck that was exposed. Feeling a bit cool, I stared blankly at Lin Su, who was knocked down by me. We were so close that through his glasses, I could clearly see the eyes behind them. They were as clear as water, and there was only my figure in them. Meeting my gaze, his eyelashes trembled, and he suddenly said, "So, in your heart, I'm still just the neighbor's younger brother who grew up with you, huh? His question came so suddenly that I didn't react for a moment. I couldn't help but exhale, and the breath just hit his face. So I watched as his face instantly turned bright red. He reached out and pushed my head away. Quickly stood up, and then, like picking up a large doll, he lifted me up from the snow and helped me stand firmly. He also patted the snowflakes off my body. It's nothing. He finally spoke again and said to me in a hoarse voice, "Let's go back." 9. The way back was still extremely quiet. Lin Su's parents had gone to his grandma's house to celebrate the new year. There was no one at his home at the moment. But considering the intimate contact in the snow just now, on the way back, I belatedly understood the meaning of his words just now. My heart hadn't slowed down until now, so I didn't have the nerve to invite him to my house to celebrate the new year. The corridor of the old residential area was a bit dim. I followed him and we went up the stairs one after the other. He coughed loudly twice, and the voice-activated light in the corridor reluctantly turned on. From the first floor to the third floor, it wasn't a very long distance. But because of the narrow corridor and the dim light, a bit of an ambiguous atmosphere was created, until he stopped in front of my house. "Go in," he said softly. The next second, the voice-activated light just went out. In the darkness, I suddenly felt a surge of courage welling up from somewhere, so I stepped forward, reached out, and quickly pulled off the thin-framed glasses on his nose. Before he could react, I stood on tiptoe. It was just a quick touch and then we separated. The next second, I immediately turned around and didn't dare to look at him again. I stamped my foot hard, and the voice-activated light turned on again. I handed him the glasses with my back to him, and the person behind me stood there in a daze for several seconds before reaching out to take them. Then I immediately took out the key, opened the door, and rushed in. My parents were watching the Spring Festival gala sketches and laughing happily. When they heard the sound of the door closing, they just looked up at me, back, then their eyes went back to the TV. I leaned against the door panel with my back, and my heart was pounding nonstop. Damn it, I was actually this brave, thinking like this. I stood there and calmed down for more than 10 seconds, until I didn't hear the sound of the door closing behind me. I realized something was wrong. I turned around and looked outside through the peephole. Outside the door, Lin Su was still standing there stupidly without moving. From my perspective, I could vaguely see his red ears and side face. After a long time, until the voice-activated light in the corridor went out again, he then raised his hand and covered the side of his face that I had just kissed. In the darkness, I heard him let out a frustrated ah sound, then he turned his head and looked towards my door. When our eyes met, even though I knew he couldn't see me, my heart still skipped a beat, so I immediately turned around and ran back to my room. I was so agile that my mom exclaimed, "What are you doing? Did you go to be a thief?" Wasn't I? I went to be a heart thief. I fell onto the bed and buried my face in the quilt, after a long time, until my face turned red from holding my breath and I almost couldn't breathe. I finally raised my head. My heart was still beating fast. Before I could calm down, my phone in my pocket suddenly vibrated twice. I took it out and saw that Lin Su had just sent me a message. "Lin Su, I'm not angry with you." The awkward tone clearly showed that he was responding to what I said at the door of the KTV just now. So cute. I didn't even realize that the corners of my mouth had raised. I was just about to type a reply to his message. Suddenly, I heard a whoosh sound outside. The next second, it was the sound of fireworks exploding. It was midnight. I wriggled and sat up on the bed. I was about to go to the balcony to watch the fireworks, but my phone suddenly vibrated twice again. "Lin Su, Happy New Year." Yang, Lin Su, good night. Outside the window, there were the sounds of one firework after another exploding, along with Lin Su's timely blessing. Countless group messages also arrived one after another, but I didn't feel like looking at them anymore. I casually threw my phone aside, turned over, and buried myself back in the quilt. I didn't need to go to the window to watch the fireworks anymore, I thought, because the biggest firework of the night had already exploded in my heart. 10. Winter passed and spring came, and soon it was the second semester of senior year of high school. There were less than half a year left until the college entrance examination. After the results of the first mock exam came out, I rushed into the top 3 of the grade for the first time. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Fong, smiled so widely that his eyes almost disappeared. "Just like last time, very good. Now it's almost certain that you can get into University A. There will be 2 outstanding students from our class going to University A." After saying that, he happily went to show off to the other teachers in the office. For a while, I became famous in the whole grade's teaching team. Sometimes when I walked on the road with Lin Su, some classmates would come over, saying they wanted to get some of the top students good luck. However, Mr. Fong hadn't been happy for a few days when Liang Zhao's parents came to the school making a scene. Just like in the previous life, after the results of the first mock exam came out, Liang Zhao's ranking dropped directly to outside the top 100 of the grade. Liang Zhao's parents had divorced due to a lack of affection in their early years, but they were very strict in disciplining Liang Zhao, their only daughter. Under their strict education, Liang Zhao's grades in the first and second years of high school were always very good. It was only when she fell in love with Chen Fei in the third year of high school that her ranking dropped. Growing up in such a family environment, Liang Zhao had also developed a character of lacking love and being selfish. She was easily coaxed by Chen Fei's sweet words. Once she was in love, she was so infatuated that not even 10 donkeys could pull her back, but I didn't expect that she would give herself to him so easily. There were less than 3 months left until the college entrance examination. She found that her period hadn't come and was afraid that she was pregnant, so she secretly bought a pregnancy test kit and planned to test it at home. As a result, accidentally, her mother caught her. What happened next completely got out of Liang Zhao's control. Her mother called her father over and forcefully took her to the hospital for an examination. Finally, when the examination results came out and it was found that her period was delayed because of the high pressure in the third year of high school, her parents let out a sigh of relief. When they got home, they began to interrogate Liang Zhao about which classmate's house she had stayed at during the several nights she was out late. At this time in the previous life, in a hurry, Liang Zhao mentioned my name, and I also sensed something was wrong. So when her parents called, I subconsciously covered for her and said that she had stayed at my house. Her parents then didn't make a big deal out of it. In this new life, I didn't answer the call at all. The phone vibrated for a long time before it stopped. After I finished my homework, I picked up the phone and clicked into the class group to take a look. As expected, everyone was discussing that Liang Zhao's parents had suddenly called them at night, and because of the incident in the KTV before, everyone wanted to stay as far away as possible. They all said that they weren't familiar with Liang Zhao and didn't know which classmate's house she had stayed at during the night she was out late. So the next day, Liang Zhao's parents rushed to the school in a rage. What happened next was a complete mess. In the end, Chen Fei, the poor student, was directly expelled from the school because of this matter. Liang Zhao also lost all face because of this. Amid the quarrels between her father and mother, who were blaming each other for not fulfilling their parental responsibilities, she directly suspended her studies and went home to prepare for the exam. For a while, the air in the whole school became much fresher. 11. After a heavy rain, the weather gradually became hot. On campus, young boys and girls took off their thick clothes one after another and changed into light summer school uniforms. The vitality of youth could be seen everywhere. The night before the college entrance examination, everyone got together for the last carnival. The familiar song, "The Heart of a Dream Chaser," was playing on the radio. Everyone stood in the corridor and sang in unison, and casually scattered their 3 years of youth all over the campus. In the midst of the flying paper and ink, Lin Su walked through the noisy crowd and came to my side step by step. Under Jiang Yuan's ambiguous gaze, he leaned into my ear and said a word to me. He said, "Yang Yang, I'll be waiting for you at University A." With his words, in the examination room the next day, I was full of energy throughout the whole process. Finally, when the scores came out, I had an outstanding performance beyond my usual level and won the first place in the science category in the city. Throughout that entire summer vacation, I was so happy every day that I lost all sense of direction. On the day the admission notice was delivered to my home, I stood downstairs and shouted Lin Su's name at the top of my voice, and the whole neighborhood heard me. In the scene where a bunch of people pushed open their windows to watch the excitement, a familiar figure finally appeared at the familiar window on the 3rd floor. When he saw me downstairs, the corners of his lips instantly curled up, and I raised the admission notice in my hand and waved my arms cheerfully. "Look, I've been admitted to University A," I shouted happily. "We can go to University A together." Upon hearing this, all the neighbors who had pushed open their windows to watch the excitement burst into joy and congratulated me with smiles. Amid the congratulatory voices, I saw Lin Su open his mouth, and then, as if afraid that I wouldn't hear him, he raised his hands and made a trumpet shape with them by his mouth. The next moment, I heard his voice. which was more cheerful and loud than I had ever heard before. "I heard you." He curved his eyebrows and eyes and smiled more brightly than ever. "Let's go to university together, Yang." That night, Lin Su, who never posted on his social media, unexpectedly posted a status on his WeChat Moments. The caption had only 2 words, "Lin Su, congratulations." The accompanying picture showed 2 admission notices placed side by side. The golden embossed characters on them printed the full name of University A, shining brightly under the sunlight, right after him. I also posted a status on my WeChat Moments. It was still that picture, but the caption had been changed to 2 different words, Song Yang, same joy. When I refreshed it again, within just a few minutes, there were already a lot of comments. "Jiang Yuan, just a passerby, may I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" "Zhang Yang, just a passerby, may I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" "The Monitor, just a passerby, may I ask what kind of wedding scene this is?" I smiled and also left a comment below. "Song Yang, stop kidding, he's still a minor." "Yes, because he skipped 2 grades in a row when he was at school. My childhood friend Lin Su is still a minor now. This is really a sweet trouble." I put down my phone with a helpless smile. When I looked up again, I met Lin Su's slightly resentful gaze. "Are you going to call me the little neighbor brother again?" "No." I immediately put away my smile and my expression became extremely serious. "You're a candidate for my future boyfriend." Well, the puppy is satisfied. 12. In September, it was the school opening season. I packed my luggage and set off for the school by high-speed rail together with Lin Su. Before leaving, Jiang Yuan said goodbye to me reluctantly. "I'll come to visit you at University A after the military training is over." I smiled and agreed. It's really amazing. Because of my rebirth, the study atmosphere of the whole class was driven up. In the end, even Zhang Yang, the guy with dyed hair who originally had no chance of going to university, was admitted to a junior college. On the day the scores came out, his wealthy father, in a fit of excitement, donated another library to the school, and my deskmate Jiang Yuan also had an outstanding performance in the examination room and was admitted to University Z, which was second only to University A. Since it was just in the neighboring province, we made an appointment to visit each other's schools in the future. However, Liang Xiao, who took a leave of absence from school and went home to review for the exams, saw her grades plummet. In the end, her scores were only enough for her to enter a second-tier university, so her parents directly chose to transfer her to another school for repeat study. I don't know if she regretted it on the day the scores came out. In that crucial senior year of high school, she recklessly squandered her youth in that puppy love. However, all these have nothing to do with me anymore. I looked at the gate of University A in front of me and couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the top university, even the gate looks so imposing. "Come on, Yang, you and Xiaoshu stand together. Let me take a photo of you too," Lin Su's father, who came with us to register, suggested with a smile. So the 2 of us stood in front of the gate of University A. While raising the camera, Lin Su's father was still saying, "Okay, get closer, a little closer." In the presence of the adults, I felt a little embarrassed and took small steps to get a little closer to Lin Su. "Why don't you 2 give a V sign together, or pose in some way?" As the words fell, just as I was about to raise my hand to give a V sign, my right shoulder suddenly felt heavy. It was Lin Su who reached out and put his arm around me. I instinctively looked up. In the sunlight, the corners of the young man's lips curled up, and he smiled as happily as he did on the day the admission notice was delivered. When we were 5 years old, he carried his little school bag and we stood at the gate of the kindergarten. The adults smiled and asked us to get closer. He reached out and carefully grabbed my braid, calling me in a childish voice, "Sister." At the age of 18, I was admitted to his university. We stood at the gate of the university campus, and he reached out and put his arm around me, smiling and whispering in my ear, Yang, get closer. Just like this, get closer, a little closer." Click. The picture was frozen at this moment. The end of the main text. Extra. Love daily life. 1. Song Yan and Lin Su officially got together in their sophomore year of university. Song Yang prepared a surprise for Lin Su's 18th birthday several months in advance and also asked Lin Su's roommates to keep it a secret from him. However, in the end, it was Lin Su who made the first move. Before pushing the door open, he suddenly stopped and looked at Song Yang seriously. Yang, I'm an adult today." "I know," Song Yang said nervously as she looked at the door. Behind that door was the surprise she had carefully prepared for Lin Su. so much so that she missed the flash of nervousness in Lin Su's eyes. The next moment, there was still the familiar quick kiss. Then, Lin Su turned around and pushed the door open. The roommates who had been waiting behind the door immediately set off the streamers, accompanied by several bang-bang sounds. Colorful streamers fell from the sky, and everyone shouted happy birthday to Lin Su in unison. Only Song Yang, who was still standing at the door, stood there dumbfounded, covering her mouth with both hands, as if there was still a trace of the warmth from Lin Su's lips on them. Damn it, he did this again. But she was still so touched, too. During Song Yang's senior year of university, she went to an internship in a different place. The two of them had a long-distance relationship that lasted for half a year. It seemed that they had never been separated for such a long time since they were little. So when Song Yang received Lin Su's call late at night, she thought he just missed her suddenly. Yang, the math problems are so difficult, I don't know how to solve them, the person on the other end of the phone said in a pitiful tone, and the words he said made Song Yang a little slow to react for a moment. Seeing that Song Yang didn't reply, the person on the other end said softly again, but I will work hard so that I can go to school with you. It turned out that the reason for those 2 grade skips was actually like this. Song Yang thought it was a bit funny. After coaxing him to sleep, she finally saw the message that Lin Su's roommate had sent her half an hour ago. Lin Su's roommate, little sister-in-law. Today is another roommate's birthday. We all had a little drink together. Lin Su is drunk and is shouting that he wants to see his sister. I guess the sister he's shouting about must be you, Lin Su's roommate. When others get drunk, they either fall asleep immediately or act crazy. Only this guy is shouting that he wants to go to school with his sister while doing a whole set of advanced math problems. Lin Su's roommate, it's so scary. Is this what they call the pure love warrior? Song Yang. The next day after that night, when Lin Su woke up and looked at the completed advanced math problems, he pondered for a few seconds and then turned to ask his roommate, did you guys secretly finish my advanced math problems while I was asleep? Roommate, am I crazy? Why would I grab your problems to do? 3. After graduating from undergraduate studies, both Lin Su and Song Yang were recommended for postgraduate studies at their own university. The good news is that Jiang Yuan also got admitted to graduate school here. The bad news is that Lin Su has a little mother-in-law who competes with him for Song Yang's favor. Fortunately, the little mother-in-law fell in love at first sight with Lin Su's roommate, with Song Yang's matchmaking. The two started dating not long after, so the date for 3 people became a date for 4 people. Song Yang often sighs that with such a good friend and such a partner, her life is already complete. The next moment, taking advantage of the fact that the 2 people across the table weren't paying attention, Lin Su quickly kissed her and then asked seriously, if she and I both fall into the water, who will you save first? Song Yang, I remember you can swim. 4. Lin Su had a dream. But if I had listened carefully, I should have noticed that his tone was slightly trembling when he answered the phone. When she was found, her body had already been gnawed by wild beasts and couldn't be recognized anymore, but he still recognized her at a glance. The necklace around her neck was the birthday gift he gave her when she was 16. He woke up crying from the dream, scaring Song Yang, who was lying beside him. What's wrong? She leaned over and kissed his face. The next moment, she was hugged by him. He was like an insecure puppy, burying his head in her chest. Finally, under Song Yang's constant questioning, he whispered about the dream he had. Unexpectedly, after hearing it, Song Yang suddenly asked him, what if it were true? I mean, if I were really killed by someone, what would you do? She emphasized the word if to stress that this was just an assumption. He raised his head and met Song Yang's curious gaze. He knew that he had to answer this question. So he said without hesitation, then I'll blow them up. Song Yang was silent for a moment first, then she nodded in agreement. Good idea. So from that day on, in order to maintain world peace, Song Yang began to cherish her life especially much. Story 2. Our family went bankrupt, and my father forced me into an arranged marriage. They favored the gentle and refined elder brother, but I was drawn to the temperamental and unpredictable younger brother. Qiao Yan cornered me in the room, grasping my wrist and demanding coldly, Jiang Yi, have you lost your mind? You're supposed to marry my brother. I looked at the man in front of me, who, in a past life, had gone nearly insane with vengeance for me after my death. Qiao Yan, you are crazier than I am. 1. I don't like Qiao Hingyu, I like Qiao Yan. As my words fell, the faces around the dinner table shifted dramatically. What are you talking about, child? My mother yanked at me sharply, scolding me for talking nonsense. My father also frowned deeply, his voice low, urging me not to make a scene. In their eyes, Xiao Hingyu was exceptional and outstanding in every way. Xiao Yan, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, impulsive, violent, and a failure. Hearing my words, Xiao Yan across the table was equally stunned, his fork clattering onto his plate. Only Xiao Hingyu managed to maintain his composure. Forcing a stiff smile, "That's not bad either, a good thing." The faces of the Qiao Dongliang couple next to him turned pale, but they kept silent. After all, though my family was bankrupt, my father's position in the business world still held influence, and the Qiao family was currently involved in a major project at a critical stage. They naturally couldn't afford to completely fall out with us. "Let's eat, the food is getting cold." Recalling that Xiao Yan had suffered from stomach issues since childhood, I commented lightly. No one at the table made a sound, and they gradually bowed their heads. Xiao Yan, with a darkened face, ate silently, as if he hadn't eaten in days. I almost wanted to laugh, barely suppressing a smile. "Xiao Yan, long time no see, too." You can imagine how unpleasant this meal was. In the end, only Xiao Yan and I were still eating, one methodically, the other wolfing down his food as if starved. Not daring to look up, I glanced at the bowed head of Xiao Yan, then stood up, excusing myself to use the restroom. I made my way familiarly to the corner, but just as I had washed my hands and was about to leave, a tall figure hurriedly entered. "What did you mean by what you said earlier?" Xiao Yan, with furrowed brows and a grim face, leaned against the wall and asked me. I tilted my head, smiling. "Literally what I said. I don't like Xiao Hingyu. I like you. If I must marry into a family, I choose to marry you." Xiao Yan was taken aback, looking at me as if I were a fool. "You don't like Xiao Hingyu, you like me." "Yes, are you sick?" I twitched my mouth, at a loss for words. In Xiao Yan's eyes, as long as his brother was around, he was just a backdrop. How could anyone prefer him over his brother? Before I could respond, Xiao Yan's expression darkened, convinced I was mocking him. The next second, he punched the wall next to me, his gaze fierce. "Jiang Yi, I don't care what your motive is, stay away from me, otherwise, I'll teach you the meaning of regret." "Understood." Looking at the grim man before me, my mind suddenly flashed back to Xiao Yan from my previous life. 3 days after my death, my broken body lay unattended in the morgue. It was he who found me, tears dropping steadily onto my body, eventually turned red-eyed and hugged me. He said, "Jiang Yi, don't be afraid, I'll take you home, and I won't let anyone hurt you again." Suddenly, my vision blurred, and I couldn't help but shiver slightly. Seeing this, Xiao Yan panicked and instinctively tried to pull away. "You." The next second, I grabbed his collar and pulled him close. My lips nearly touched the corner of his. "Xiao Yan, why can you like me, and I can't like you?" "I insist on liking you." Xiao Yan was completely dumbfounded, his eyes wide as he held up his hands in a surrendered gesture, not daring to touch me. "When did I ever say I liked you? Really don't like me?" I stared intently at him, and after a moment, a slow smile formed on my lips. My fingers trailed down his collar, over his chest and waist, glancing down lightly. "What's this about then?" With a loud thud, Xiao Yan's face flushed from his neck to his ears. He pushed me away forcefully. "Are you crazy?" His eyes filled with panic. He quickly moved half a meter away from me, pointing at me. He told me to stay away from him. So I leaned against the wall, unaffected, and said, "What's wrong? I just like you. Your parents let me choose. I chose you. You're being unreasonable." Xiao Yan was so angry he looked like he was going to explode, frowning at me, asking if I was out of my mind. I laughed even harder, saying, "Yes, I have a disease where I'll die without you." Xiao Yan fiercely turned his head and cursed under his breath, his ears red as if bleeding. "Ah Yan, what's wrong?" Just then, Xiao Hingyu's voice suddenly came from the living room. Xiao Yan's face changed slightly, and he gave me a warning look. "I don't like you. Don't go out and say anything about choosing me." After saying that, he turned and left, not heading to the living room, but quickly going upstairs. I watched his retreating back, a bitter feeling spreading in my heart. It was this man who, in his last life, died a gruesome death for my sake. The matchmaking dinner ended unhappily, and when I got home, my parents inevitably lectured me. They said I was blinded by foolishness. With Xiao Hingyu's excellent prospects right there, and yet I had set my heart on Xiao Yan. "You really don't know what's good for you," my father said furiously. My mother tried to soften the situation, suggesting that I invite Xiao Hingyu out alone another day to apologize and perhaps get closer. Looking at my blood-related family, my heart ached. Mom, Dad, what if I told you that Xiao Hingyu is just a hypocritical scoundrel? Would you still insist on me marrying into his family? My mother was stunned, her brows furrowed. How could that be? Xiao family's eldest has always been famously outstanding. How could he be hypocritical? Then she continued to persuade me, saying that everyone has flaws and that I should just endure it, be obedient, that Xiao Yan has a bad temper and no prospects. He might even be the illegitimate child of the Qiao family. What future could you possibly have with him, with Hingyu? The wealth of the Qiao family will be yours. Watching my mother's heartfelt persuasion, I suddenly remembered, in my previous life, when I was half beaten to death by Xiao Hingyu's domestic violence, they also advised me to endure, but they didn't know the torture I had suffered. Xiao Hingyu, on the surface, was genteel and distinguished, but behind closed doors, he was a violent paranoid, having grown up under the oppressive expectations of his parents. He forced himself to excel, and all that pent-up dissatisfaction and pain, in the end, it all turned into post-human violence. Every time he came home drunk, he would turn everything into a beating, violently taking it out on me. Joe's parents were also beasts wearing human masks. They not only indulged him but even helped him threaten me. I tried to seek help from my parents, but all I got was their cold discouragement. Eventually, Joe Hingyu became even more ruthless, and after growing tired of me, he started dragging me into social interactions in business settings. I was living a life worse than death. On the brink of collapse, I became mentally unstable. He then engineered an accident to take my life, obtaining a substantial amount of insurance money. He also swapped his facade for the reputation of a loving, devoted husband. After my death, my parents didn't even consider investigating the truth, only Zhou Yan. After my death, he erupted like a madman, step by step, relentlessly driving the people who harmed me into a corner. In the end, he jumped into the sea holding my ashes. I closed my eyes, and my heart gradually grew cold. In this life, I only want Zhou Yan. I clung to Zhou Yan, always finding excuses to seek him out under the pretext of looking for Zhou Hingyu. He was visibly annoyed, repeatedly turning me away with a scowl. Eventually, he simply started avoiding me, but having lived another life, I knew him well enough to easily find him at the racing club. He was dressed in a black racing suit, his athletic figure accentuated, broad shoulders and long legs fully displayed. This was much more provocative than wearing gray sweatpants. I narrowed my eyes and cursed under my breath for his indecency. I walked over just as a group of young men and women had gathered around him. One of the girls was about to hug him. I stepped forward quickly, hooking my arm around Zhou Yan's neck. Sorry, my fiancé doesn't like other women touching him. With that statement, the faces of everyone present changed. Zhou Yan's face turned red, and he pushed me away, saying, "What are you talking about?" He then stuttered as he introduced me to the others as his friend, not his fiancé. The onlookers shifted the topic with awkward laughs, not probing further. Yet the girl who had initially approached Zhou Yan came forward again, asking him to take her for a spin. Zhou Yan hesitated and glanced at me. I smiled and said, "Sure." Then I casually placed my hand on the shoulder of a nearby young man. Then, "Little brother, could you take me for a spin? I've never tried this. It looks thrilling." The young man's eyes lit up, his smile reaching his ears, and he eagerly agreed. As I turned to walk with him, the next second, my arm was forcibly pulled back. Zhou Yan, with a dark expression, pulled me to his side. "I'll take her." I smirked and smiled. Over the next few days, no matter where Zhou Yan went, I always managed to find him first. If he was sleeping at home, I would directly go upstairs and flip his bedding. If he went out for fun, I would follow him closely. I enjoyed seeing him so frustrated yet unwilling to scold me. After a few days, the way he looked at me changed. He finally fiercely warned me, saying if I continued to follow him, he wouldn't be polite anymore. Curious about how he intended to be impolite, I went to the bar where he was hanging out that night. He wasn't surprised, nor did he drive me away immediately. Instead, he let me sit down and join them in drinking and playing games. The drink was, of course, strong liquor, and the game was the cliched truth or dare. Unexpectedly, a girl dared to sit next to him. She had clearly been eyeing him for a long time. She was almost leaning entirely against him. After losing a game, someone in the crowd dared the girl to kiss Xiao Yan. The girl's face turned red instantly and she looked at Xiao Yan, saying it wouldn't be right. Xiao Yan's expression was unreadable, and he didn't immediately object. This only made the crowd cheer louder. Seeing the girl glance at Xiao Yan again, I suddenly realized what he was planning. He was using this girl to drive me away. I took a deep breath, feeling a bit angry. I knew that Xiao Yan kept pushing me away because he felt he couldn't control his own restlessness. He was afraid of hurting me and even more afraid that I would regret it. After all, in his eyes, he was just a failure. Although he didn't like Xiao Hengyu, at least Xiao Hengyu was capable of giving me what others might see as happiness. But what about him? Did it not hurt him to see me with Xiao Hengyu? I closed my eyes. And when I opened them again, I suddenly stood up. In the next second, under everyone's gaze, I straddled Xiao Yan. Glancing at the people around, I said, "Sorry, sister, but he's mine." Suddenly, there was complete silence around us. Xiao Yan's face changed drastically, and he stared at me, speechless. I slowly lowered my head and saw his Adam's apple bob sharply. "What are you doing, you?" After I spoke, I bit his lip. For a moment, it seemed as though the person beneath me had stopped breathing, but his warm chest reminded me that he was very much alive. Even after I pulled away, Xiao Yan still stared wide-eyed as if the sky had fallen. I couldn't help but laugh, yet suddenly felt a pang of sadness. Xiao Yan had kissed me, after I had died in a past life, after he had suppressed his feelings for so long. Unfortunately, by then, I could no longer feel his warmth. Coming back to my senses, Xiao Yan's face was flushed with a mix of red and white, furiously telling me to get off. Then he suddenly jumped up and rushed out. "Where are you going?" "To the restroom." Xiao Yan slammed the door, throwing me a threatening look before he left. "Don't follow me." I leaned back on the couch, unable to suppress a smile. He's so adorable. How had I not noticed this sooner? After Xiao Yan left, the others inevitably started discussing. I remained as unmovable as a mountain. The girl from before seemed unwilling to let it go, biting her lip and asking what my relationship with Xiao Yan was. I glanced at her and said, "Didn't you see just now? But brother Xiao Yan has never mentioned you before, so what?" I looked at the girl and said, "So you think he likes you, little sister? Don't deceive yourself about feelings." With that, I got up and walked to another couch. Out of sight, out of mind. However, unexpectedly, some clueless man came over to hit on me. His lecherous gaze swept over me as he offered to buy me a drink. He then put his hand on my shoulder. I was just about to frown when I heard a whoosh behind me. Before I could even turn around, the man next to me was knocked to the ground with a punch. Xiao Yan grabbed his collar and said sternly, "Are you out of your mind?" The man was almost knocked senseless and started to struggle as he came to his senses. "What the hell is wrong with you? What does me offering her a drink have to do with you? Let him go." Xiao Yan's expression turned cold, and he decisively threw another punch. "Say that again if you dare." Seeing that Xiao Yan's demeanor was somewhat off, I felt a sinking feeling and stood up. The man, unwilling to be beaten, stubbornly continued to provoke Xiao Yan despite the consequences, yelling that he was crazy. In the next moment, Xiao Yan's expression completely changed. He grabbed a wine bottle from nearby and smashed it hard on the man's head. He then began to punch the man repeatedly in the head. As blood splattered and screams erupted around us, chaos ensued. Seeing that the man on the ground was almost unable to breathe, I gritted my teeth and threw myself at Xiao Yan, hugging him. "Enough, stop it." Xiao Yan ignored me, his elbow harshly brushing past my cheek. Enduring the pain, I continued to call out to him, desperately turning his head towards me. "Look at me, Yan." Xiao Yan's fist suddenly froze mid-air, his dark, hollow pupils quickly constricting. Seconds later, his breathing gradually slowed down. I sighed in relief and pressed him against my chest. "It's okay now, it's over." Under my continuous comfort, Xiao Yan finally calmed down. His demeanor turned eerily calm. Soon the police arrived, and I accompanied him to make a statement. He was very quiet throughout, said everything that needed to be said, and finally paid a fine. Not until we left the police station, he suddenly turned to me and asked, "Aren't you afraid of me?" I shook my head, about to speak again. He abruptly cut me off. "Jiang-yi, I am sick, do you understand?" He pointed to his temple, his dark eyes fixating on me. Word by word he said, "I can't control my violence, choosing me. Aren't you afraid that one day I might kill you?" I opened my mouth to speak, saying he wouldn't, but he asked me why I thought he wouldn't. "Without you, I could continue to live carefree, but with you, I have to be constantly vigilant about controlling myself. You are a burden, understand?" My heart skipped a beat. Looking at him I asked, "Do you really think that? What if I say, your brother is a hypocritical beast, His eyes darkened with craziness, his eyebrows slowly furrowing, yet he remained silent for a long while, as if pondering the meaning of my words. I looked at him, nodded slowly after a moment. All right. You prefer I choose your brother, right, as you wish. On the third day after my fallout with Qiao Yan, the Qiao family held an early birthday party for Qiao Hengyu. Many high-profile guests attended, and naturally, my parents brought me along. However, what I never expected was that they had conspired with Mr. and Mrs. Qiao Dongliang to set me up. As I stood there unsuspecting, Qiao Hengyu stood on stage announcing some good news. He then gently smiled at me. Xiaoyi, come up here. Holding my glass, I froze in place, my eyebrows furrowing tighter, but before I could even react, my parents pushed me onto the stage. Amidst the enthusiastic applause and murmurs from below, Zhang's daughter, Jiang Yi, does this mean a marriage alliance? Should we say it or not? These two are quite a match in terms of talent and beauty, but wasn't there recently a scandal involving the Jiang family? So, isn't this Jiang family reaching above their station amidst the noise? It felt as if I had suddenly returned to a previous life. At my wedding with Qiao Hengyu, the night before the wedding, I caught Qiao Hengyu cheating. Furious, I demanded to call off the engagement. In the dressing room, he slapped me hard, revealing his true nature, but by then, I was trapped with no way out. As I walked down the aisle, I fought back tears, desperately hoping for someone to save me, but no one came. Qiao Yan had already left before any of this unfolded, and I hadn't even noticed him. Now, standing on such a stage again, I felt almost suffocated. Qiao Hengyu had cornered me, banking on the fact that I had no escape. If I messed up today, not only would my family and I become a laughingstock, but my parents would also be utterly disgraced, kicked while they were down. Xiaoyi, what are you daydreaming about? Tell everyone our engagement date, Qiao Hengyu said with a smile, handing me the microphone. Looking at his hypocritical mask made my stomach churn. Ignoring him, I turned my gaze straight to the banquet hall door. Qiao Yan, I'm giving you 3 seconds. If you don't show up in 3 seconds, you'll learn what regret really means. 3, 2, 1, bang. A loud noise came from the door. I looked up in shock. Amidst the roar of a huge engine, a black sports car had violently crashed into the wall. What the? Who is this? Are they insane? Security, someone has broken in. The banquet hall erupted into chaos and screaming. I stared at the familiar sports car not far away, my eyes twitching. I asked you to come, not to fly here. The next second, the car door opened, a long leg clad in a black and red racing suit stepped out, then, revealing a lean waist and well-defined chest muscles, Qiao Yan, draped in a black jacket, removed his helmet. His damp hair swayed slightly as his piercing gaze fixed directly on me. Our eyes met, and I gasped, damn. Why is my man so handsome? Qiao, the second young master of the Qiao family. He's gone mad, driving a car right into here. What about his manners? Manners, haven't you heard? This second son of the Qiao family is known to be a violent madman. God, calling him a violent madman is an understatement. Amidst the surrounding murmurs, Qiao Hengyu next to me frowned deeply. Yan, you, brother. Qiao Yan interrupted him, looking straight at Qiao Hengyu and said firmly, taking advantage of my absence to steal my woman, that's not very nice, is it? His words silenced the crowd instantly. My parents and the Qiao family were shocked, while the other guests were confused. If I remember correctly, the person Jiang Yi chose to align with was me, right? Qiao Yan looked at me again, his dark pupils exuding a fierce yet gentle glow. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he walked towards me step by step. What do you say, Miss Jiang? As he spoke, Qiao Yan stood before me, bowed slightly, and extended his hand invitingly, looking at his open hand. My heart started pounding wildly, my eyes suddenly felt sore. It was as if I had crossed the torrents of time, standing once again on the wedding stage of a past life. But this time, someone had come to save me. Yes, the moment I placed my hand in Qiao Yan's, he gripped it tightly. The warmth of his palm spread to the center of my hand, and I truly felt my rebirth at that moment. The nightmares of my past life were slowly drifting away, and the future was symbolized by the hands tightly clasped between Qiao Yan and myself. Jiang Yi, seeing how well Qiao Yan and I got along, Qiao Hengyu couldn't hide his displeasure and scowled beside us, but before he could say anything more, Qiao Yan snorted coldly and pulled me away. Ignoring everyone else, he led me straight out of the banquet hall. I had initially thought about staying back for a few minutes to manage the situation, but looking at Qiao Yan's resolute profile, I decided otherwise. Was there anything more important than him right now? Following Xiao Yan out, I saw another sports car parked nearby with a man dressed in a racing suit inside. His mouth fell open in astonishment when he saw Xiao Yan leading me out. Damn, you're serious, Yan bro. You just snatched her away like that. Cut the chatter, move it, Xiao Yan said impatiently, frowning as he snatched the car keys from his hand and pushed him aside. The car's over there, go drive it yourself. I'm leaving. As he finished speaking, he had already pressed me into the passenger seat. I was still dazed and hadn't even fastened my seatbelt. Come on, Xiao Yan, growing even more impatient, leaned over to help me, but the seatbelt got stuck after a few tugs. Half of him was leaning over me, neither advancing nor retreating, and his ears flushed red. What the hell is this? I couldn't help but laugh, which inadvertently made my chest brush against his arm. Almost instantly, Xiao Yan recoiled as if he had seen a ghost. You, do it yourself. He was almost steaming, his face dark yet flushed. The man outside the car looked puzzled. I cleared my throat, restrained my laughter, and fastened my seatbelt myself. The next second, the car zoomed off. As if on fire, I slightly turned my head, observing Xiao Yan's flushed profile, barely containing my laughter. After a while, the redness on his neck finally subsided, but his expression grew somber. That day you called Xiao Hingyu a beast. What did you mean? What has he done to you? My lips quirked slightly, but I still kept my eyes on Xiao Yan, thinking of asking me now. Isn't it a bit late? I spoke calmly. After all, he had already disrupted Xiao Hingyu's birthday party, effectively tying his fate to mine. However, Xiao Yan frowned and mentioned that he hadn't intended to cause such a big scene. If it weren't for that fool insisting I bet on racing with him, I wouldn't have been late. I glanced at the car logo in front of us and raised my eyebrows slightly. So, this car is the result of that bet. I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, on the day I married Xiao Hingyu, he seemed to have had a car accident. After that, he never touched racing again. My brow furrowed, about to speak, but he interrupted me again. And don't think that this means I'm committed to you. I'm just trying to help you, and I want to understand what exactly you know, Xiao Yan said sternly, keeping his gaze straight ahead, adding that although he didn't have the wealth and power of the Qiao family, he would do his best to help the Jiang family. I looked at him, narrowing my eyes, remaining silent. Seeing that I didn't respond, he frowned, hesitated for a while, and then said, if you don't want to enter into an arranged marriage with me, just let me know. I'll think of another way for you. Xiao Yan, if you say one more word, I'll pounce on you right here. I stared coldly at Xiao Yan. For a full 3 seconds, there was dead silence in the car. Xiao Yan mechanically turned his head, his eyes wide with a hint of confusion and mostly filled with terror. To say such things now? You're being irresponsible and shamelessly denying any connection after the fact. No, that's not what I meant. What do you mean by not what you meant? Am I holding you back, troubling you, or forcing you? I narrowed my eyes and leaned slightly towards Xiao Yan. Why crash the party if you didn't want an arranged marriage? Being so aggrieved, you might as well send me back to Xiao Hingyu. It's just a dead end anyway. It's better than being despised here. Xiao Yan was stupefied, not even looking ahead as he spoke to me in haste. What are you talking about? What death? I told you, I didn't mean it like that. He explained frantically, almost biting his tongue. Looking at his face, I suddenly felt a bit reluctant to tease him anymore, but if it hadn't been for his infuriating words, I wouldn't have purposely agitated him, recalling the crazy things he did for me in the past life. I closed my eyes and said, enough. Xiao Yan paused. The next second, I leaned over and kissed him hard on the lips. Driving recklessly causes tears. Don't learn from this. With a screech, the tire skidded fiercely. Xiao Yan swerved and stopped the car on the roadside. Jiang Yi, he shouted at me angrily, staring but unable to speak. Finally, he managed to say with a red face, do you realize how dangerous that was just now? I raised an eyebrow. Of course I do, but rather than having you send me back, I'd rather die with you. With a click, the safety belt slid off. Before Xiao Yan could recover from the shock, I leaned over and pressed him down on the seat. Glaring at him, I slowly bent down, my lips brushed past his lips, nose, and eyes. Finally, I bit down on his ear. In a hoarse voice, I said, better to be a romantic ghost than a vengeful spirit. As I spoke, I felt Xiao Yan tense up, his body stiffening. With a smirk, I pressed down on his wildly beating heart and softly called his name, Yan. The space in the driver's seat was cramped, and the temperature suddenly soared. Xiao Yan's hand on my waist tightened gradually, radiating intense heat. Watching his Adam's apple move nervously, I chuckled and pressed my lips to it. Thud, thud, thud. You can't park here. Didn't you see that? Before the sentence finished, the traffic policeman outside the car window stood frozen. 3 pairs of eyes met, and silence ensued. I slowly raised an eyebrow, thinking to myself, Uncle, you're not young anymore. How can you lack such discernment? Underneath me, Xiao Yan came back to his senses, his whole body exploding. He fumbled desperately to restore the scene to normal. The more anxious he became, the more his hands touched places they shouldn't. Eventually, he was about to lose his mind. The policeman outside couldn't bear to watch anymore and silently turned away. Well, anyway, drive off as soon as possible. And remember to pay the fine later. After saying that, he left. Cursing under his breath with a flushed face, inside the car, I sat back in the passenger seat, feeling a bit regretful. Are you still giving me a ride home, Xiao Yan? No. Oh, then do I need to remind you again about wanting to be with you? No, you don't have to. Alright, can we go home now? I'm tired. Xiao Yan didn't say a word and swiftly started the car. I grinned at the car window. You're still not beyond my handling. After Xiao Yan and I left, Xiao Hengyu cleaned up the mess. To maintain his image as a humble gentleman, he publicly announced that I had chosen his brother. Since his brother wasn't there, he looked after me on his behalf, and in reality, he was about to announce the good news about Xiao Yan and me. He also subtly suggested that Xiao Yan had his own merits, hoping that Xiao Yan and I would receive everyone's blessings. With these grand-sounding words, Xiao Yan and I instantly became the target of public criticism. Some criticized me, saying the esteemed Miss Jiang, ignored such an admirable elder brother to choose a worthless man. Others cursed Xiao Yan, listing the outrageous things he had done over the years, mocking him for being worlds apart from Xiao Hengyu, noting that such disgusting actions were not surprising. What a pity for the great young master Xiao, a 1 in 100 talent, to be insulted like this. Exactly. But I don't think Xiao II and Miss Jiang will last long, an ignorant girl and a deranged brute. TSK, amidst the sighs, I just lay at home planning my next move. Having experienced my past life, this was nothing. Right now, the most important thing was to persuade Xiao Yan to return to the Qiao family business, without reclaiming what belonged to him. Our future would certainly be challenging. Thinking this, I sprang up and hummed a tune while doing my makeup beautifully. I hadn't seen Xiao Yan in 2 days, and I was itching to see him blush. Just as I finished getting ready and opened the door, I saw my parents sitting in the living room with worried faces. Seeing me come out, their faces grew even longer, asking where I was going. To the Qiaos, I answered and was ready to leave, but my mother stood up and walked over. Judging by her expression, I knew she was about to scold me again for choosing Xiao Yan. I raised my hand to stop her. Mom, don't worry about the issues at home, the Qiao family won't dare not help. As for the rest, I looked at my mom and said word by word, you never interfered with my life before, and there's no need to start now. I will provide you with a carefree life. But beyond that, nothing else. After saying that, I left without looking back. In my previous life after I died, my soul somehow didn't dissipate. That's why I could see what Xiao Yan did for me. I also saw my parents. I saw them grieve for a while, but then they followed the Qiao family's suggestion and moved abroad. They even adopted a godson overseas. It didn't take long for them to move on from my death. I should have guessed it. The Jiang family, having only one daughter, didn't really love me. In the face of money and power, I was insignificant, and they didn't like having a daughter. Thinking she'd just marry off anyway, if it weren't for my father's health preventing them from having more children, they wouldn't have stopped at one. So, after I died, I didn't expect them to suffer much, but seeing their indifference, my heart trembled with pain. At that time, I felt even if I lived again, it wouldn't mean much. Not until later, when I saw Xiao Yan, I watched him hold my body and weep. Watched him completely sever ties with the Qiao family. I watched him take revenge for me alone. To confront the Qiao family, he even knelt down and begged for help. Severely beaten, the already injured leg was further impaired. At that moment, my soul was fiercely stirred. I swore, if given another chance, I would never let him suffer again. Upon arriving at the Qiao's residence, I heard the sound of shattering glass as soon as I entered. This was followed by the furious scolding of Qiao's father. If you don't want to be part of this family, then get out. What do you think you are? Without the Qiao family, would you have everything you have now? Then came the insincere attempts of Xiao's mother and Xiao Hingyu to calm the situation. I pursed my lips slightly, already guessing who they were scolding, but with Xiao Yan's temperament, would he really just let them berate him? With a frown, I stepped forward and entered. I saw that the large aquarium in the living room had shattered, the fish inside lay on the floor, motionless as if they had long been dead. In addition, there was an ashtray with bloodstains on the floor. Xiao Yan stood amidst the wet floor and glass shards, a wound on his forehead bleeding. In an instant, my chest felt like it would burst. They dared to harm Xiao Yan, were they insane? I quickly approached Xiao Yan to ask what had happened. He hadn't expected my sudden appearance. His darkened face froze, wondering why I was there. I'm asking you, what happened? Who did this to you? Perhaps my grim expression made it difficult for Xiao Yan to speak. Xiao's father, with a face as dark as iron, sternly admitted he did it and asked what about it. Xiao Hingyu, sensing the tension, quickly came forward to ease the atmosphere. While soothing his father, he explained to me. He said that Xiao Yan, either out of bad mood or something else, had killed his father's favorite fish with medication. It has been confirmed that the powder was a medication Xiao Yan takes for managing his emotions. Father was a bit upset and gave him a lecture. Before he could finish, flashes of past events surged in my mind. In an instant, I glared at Xiao Hingyu, wishing I could end him right there. Taking a deep breath, I stood still. Instead, I turned to look at Xiao Yan. Did you administer the medication? Xiao Yan was startled, denying it immediately, but then he lowered his head, his face growing cold. Let it be, if they say so, it doesn't matter. I insisted it did matter. Why should you suffer for something you didn't do? Turning to the Qiao family, my gaze fell on Xiao Hingyu. If I remember correctly, he's also on similar medication. Why didn't my uncle and aunt suspect him? Xiao's mother, taken aback, quickly glanced at her son, not concerned whether he was guilty, but shocked that he was taking medication. Xiao Hingyu's face momentarily stiffened, then he retorted. I don't know where you heard that, but I'm healthy and don't take any medication. Bullshit, I interrupted him calmly, stating that he had told me himself. Xiao Hingyu turned visibly more upset, but before he could speak, I cut him off. If you don't believe it, why don't you have someone check his room? Xiao's father, already looking grim, became even more enraged after my persistent questioning and unreserved language. Miss Jiang, are you suggesting I wronged Xiao Yan? Someone go and check. I want to see who exactly is being wronged here. At that command, two subordinates immediately headed upstairs. Xiao Hingyu's expression completely changed. He tried to stop it, but it was too late. He could only watch helplessly as two of his men quickly came down from upstairs with an additional bottle of medicine in hand. Mr. Xiao, this medicine, it was indeed found in young Master Qiao's room, one of them said. This statement changed the expressions of everyone present, however. Xiao Hingyu quickly stepped forward to explain, stating he had been under great pressure recently and the doctor had prescribed him some medication. Upon hearing this, Xiao's mother quickly came forward to show her concern. Xiao's father, on the other hand, seemed to sense something amiss, his face turning a mix of blue and red. Enough, no need to investigate further. Xiao Hingyu glanced at Xiao Yan and suggested they just assume it was him who was responsible. Dad, you're not in good health. Don't get angry anymore. It also lets others make a laughing stock out of us. I almost laughed at Xiao Hingyu's demeanor. I confronted him directly, insisting that it was better to clear up the truth. Xiao Hingyu gave me a resigned look as if he was the one being wronged. He asked what I wanted. I remained unfazed and pushed Xiao Yan, who was beside me, forward. If the young master insists on admitting it was him, then he should apologize to Xiao Yan. Xiao's father began, his eyes widening in anger. But Xiao Hingyu stopped him. He smiled faintly, then turned to Xiao Yan and apologized. I shouldn't have wrongfully accused you, little brother. The word little brother was said with a clenched tone. After that, there was a moment of silence. Then, Xiao Yan bowed his head and silently pulled me away to leave. It wasn't until we were in the car that he suddenly turned to stare at me. I thought he would be moved to tears, questioning why I believed in him unconditionally and protected him so fiercely. Then he would uncontrollably hug me tightly, and finally, kiss me passionately. Instead, he asked, why did you know Xiao Hingyu was also taking that kind of medicine? Have you been in his room? What exactly is your relationship with him? I gasped, at a loss for words in front of him. As the jealousy in the car threatened to suffocate us, I decisively moved closer and wrapped my arms around Xiao Yan's neck. The sudden closeness threw his gaze into disarray. He leaned back, telling me to stop my tricks. You need to explain clearly, what exactly, MMPH. I leaned in and kissed him deeply, far more boldly than the light kisses of before. He heated up entirely. A few seconds later, when he pushed me away, he looked like a cooked shrimp, his eyes watery as if he had been bullied. I quickly turned my head and moved back to the passenger seat. Goodness, I really had to restrain myself. Waving my hand, I signaled him to start driving and then listened to my explanation. Xiao Yan, still dazed, nodded and obediently started the car. My heart melted. About the things from my past life, it wasn't that I didn't want to tell Xiao Yan. Firstly, it was too unbelievable, and I feared he wouldn't believe it. Secondly, the past life was too painful. It hurt me, and it hurt him. I didn't want to remind him of those memories, so, after thinking, I made up an excuse. I said Xiao Hingyu was a senior from my previous school, but I had inadvertently discovered he wasn't as he appeared, so, for this arranged marriage, I had investigated him beforehand. The explanation was full of holes, but Xiao Yan didn't ask further. Instead, he made an unrelated comment, saying he was from the same school as me. He asked why I hadn't investigated him. Who says I didn't investigate? Without investigating, how could I know that someone has had a crush on me since freshman year? Xiao Yan's expression changed abruptly. When did I say I had a crush on you? I turned my head to look at him and laughed. Xiao Yan, realizing what he had said, quickly turned his head away. No matter how much I tried to coax him afterward, he remained silent. His handsome face flushed red. What else could I do but indulge him? I told Xiao Yan that Xiao Hingyu and the others would not let us be. If we didn't take back the ownership rights that belonged to him, we would end up ruined and with nothing. Only with capital could we confront them. Xiao Yan frowned but said nothing. I knew he had shares in the Qiao Corporation, but he never managed them. They were the inheritance left by his birth mother, and the more he engaged with it, the more he would miss his mother. But in our previous life, it was because these shares were stolen that his circumstances became so difficult. I couldn't let us go through the same ordeal again. Gently touching Xiao Yan's face, I looked at him seriously and said, I know you don't like dealing with these things. I promise, once we get through this, you can do whatever you want. From now on, I'll support you. I will always be with you. Xiao Yan was taken aback, his pupils shaking violently. The next second, he pulled me tightly into his embrace. I blinked, somewhat puzzled, but soon he let go of me and awkwardly said, Who needs your support? I'm perfectly capable. I wasn't unwilling to fight before. I was just worried that problems could affect the Jiang family. Your parents must be really worried now, right? He paused, then said in a low voice, If things really go wrong, run as far as you can. Got it. It was only then that I realized why he had endured Father Qiao's abuse in the Qiao family. Feeling a pang in my heart, I decisively looked up and pecked him on the lips. I'm already yours. Where else could I run? Wherever you are is where I belong. Xiao Yan turned his face away, his eyes dark and unreadable, but after a few seconds, he gripped my hand tightly, almost crushing it. Jiang Yi, I won't let you lose. The next morning, Xiao Yan and I officially started our plan. In our previous life, Xiao Hingyu had me toyed with by his business partners, using me like some object to gain benefits for him. He even sent me to the beds of some old shareholders to stabilize the company. But it was also because of this that I was able to remember each of these people clearly in my heart. I knew exactly how many dirty deeds were hidden inside Qiao Corporation. I knew who was corrupt and who was clean, who was cunning and who was merely a facade. With my guidance, Xiao Yan quickly caught on to several of these rotten characters. Then at the shareholders' meeting, he appeared suddenly, catching everyone off guard. As his little assistant, I followed by his side. Watching Xiao Hingyu and some shareholders' faces change dramatically, feeling extremely satisfied, some used the excuse that Xiao Yan hadn't managed the company for a long time to argue that he no longer deserved to be a shareholder. Xiao Yan scoffed coldly and sat down with a drag of his chair. It's true I haven't managed the company, but my shares have still been profiting the company, unlike you, who appear diligent but engage in shady dealings behind the scenes. It's a miracle the company has survived this long under your management. The old shareholder turned pale. He choked out that Xiao Yan was slandering him. He said he had been in the Qiao Corporation for 8 years, and even the chairman had never spoken to him like that. Other shareholders chimed in, criticizing Xiao Yan and mocking him for his ignorance and audacity to show his face here. Hingyu now found himself overshadowed. You're not going to throw him out? With someone like him in the company, it chills my heart, an old shareholder exclaimed loudly. Everyone then turned their attention towards Xiao Hingyu. Xiao Hingyu massaged his temples, feeling a headache coming on. Yan, you see, it's not that I don't want you to stay. Sai, you should go back first. I'll discuss with mom and dad tonight to see if we can arrange something else for you. You don't need to handle the company's affairs anymore. Why can't I be involved? Has the Qiao family become so dominant now? Xiao Yan interrupted him calmly. He stated that his shares were there, and no one had the right to take away his rights. Mr. Kai, do you think I have wronged you? He squinted his eyes towards the old shareholder, his deep dark pupils flashing with a cold light. Then take a look at what these are. Saying so, he gestured towards me with a nod of his chin. Go, throw it in his face. I nodded, took a thick folder, walked over, and slammed the folder hard into the old shareholder's face. With a loud thud, the old shareholder, along with his chair, was knocked to the ground by me. The entire office fell silent. I dusted off my hands, which were not even dirty, and strutted back to Xiao Yan's side. Xiao Yan gave me a look, his face seemingly spelling out a giant 6. The others exploded in anger a few seconds later. Mr. Kai's face was a picture of varied expressions. He struggled to his feet, pointing at me and Xiao Yan, and began cursing loudly. At that moment, the file I had slapped on his face was picked up by someone nearby. That person was the first one Xiao Yan and I had won over. With a look of horror, he started reading the contents of the file, detailing the years Mr. Kai had embezzled money by exploiting his official position. Every case was laid out for all to see. Mr. Kai paled dramatically, and by the time he reacted and tried to snatch the file, it was too late. The drama ended with him being taken away by the police, but for Xiao Yan, this was just the first battle in the company. Before leaving, I glanced at Xiao Hingyu's extremely gloomy expression and slowly curled the corners of my lips. Don't worry, this is just the beginning. Over the following days, Xiao Yan and I began to conquer the company. Everyone knew Xiao Yan was unpredictable and violent, and rumors even suggested he had a mental illness. He didn't even need to reprimand people behind their backs. He would hit you in the face, and you had to bear it. Thus, many began to tread carefully around Xiao Yan, and those with issues tried every means to get him out. Flawed plans and well-set traps, time-wasting and indigestible projects were all handed over to Xiao Yan. They were convinced Xiao Yan was incompetent and would mess everything up. However, the flawed plans, once revised by Xiao Yan, quickly gained approval, and the results were remarkably good. He cleverly avoided the traps set for him, kicking out a few non-performers, which increased team cohesion, and that project they couldn't digest. It was because Xiao's rival was manipulating it from behind, and this person I had wanted to meet since my rebirth. Nowadays, it has become neglected. After all, at the previous birthday party, I chose his younger brother in front of everyone and left him behind. Even if he keeps up appearances, some will question his capabilities. Xiao Dongliang was furiously upset but helpless, and Xiao Hingyu, after receiving the call that He Yiming agreed to meet, Xiao Yan and I immediately prepared to go. Unexpectedly, as we reached the downstairs, we bumped into Xiao Hingyu. His eyes were dark and brooding, his face showing signs of fatigue. So much so that he almost didn't manage to hide his malice when he first saw Xiao Yan and me. However, he quickly recovered, smiling and greeting me and Xiao Yan. Yan, you've been doing well lately. It seems that Xiaoyi is truly your lucky star. Xiao Yan responded indifferently, lifting his eyelids slightly. Is there something you need? Xiao Hingyu's smile faded a bit, saying it was nothing important. By the way, I heard you're also planning to meet with President He of Xinhua. To be honest, it's tough to secure a deal there, and He Yiming is no easy target. What bargaining chip do you plan to use to convince him? Xiao Yan casually replied, mentioning a plot of land in Dongqing that was up for auction. Xiao Hingyu was taken aback, then frowned. He said that the land had no prospects whatsoever. Yan, buying land is a big deal. Don't be rash, otherwise, if something goes wrong, Dad might. If it has no prospects, I'll make it have prospects. Xiao Yan interrupted Xiao Hingyu, his dark eyes firmly fixed on him. Just because you can't, doesn't mean I can't. With that, he walked away, watching his imposing figure. I couldn't help but smile. He really is my man. Following Xiao Yan to the door, I glanced back at Xiao Hingyu. He stood not far away, his expression blank, his gaze somber. Upon arriving at Xinhua, He Yiming, probably disliking the Qiao family, deliberately made us wait and didn't show up on time. I wasn't going to indulge him. And after waiting for 5 minutes without seeing anyone, I pulled Xiao Yan to leave. The secretary who was hosting us was startled and hurriedly tried to stop us. No need, just tell your president he will soon learn how to write the word regret. With that, I gave Xiao Yan a look, and without hesitation, he got up to leave. However, as the elevator doors opened, He Yiming came out with a smile. I've long heard that the younger Qiao brother has a temper, and it seems it's true to the rumors. Xiao Yan ignored him, only giving me a questioning look. I tilted my head slightly, signaling that he could proceed. He then greeted He Yiming coolly. Afterward, we went to the reception room and officially started talking with He Yiming. Upon learning that we were using the plot of land in Dongqing as our bargaining chip, his eyebrows raised. That plot of land, I hear it has a bad reputation. Are you playing with me? Xiao Yan frowned impatiently. Believe it or not, that's up to you. He Yiming's mouth twitched. I couldn't help but smirk, feeling quite pleased inside. That plot of land would later be developed by the government and become a highly sought-after site. This was something I told Xiao Yan based on my memories from a previous life, and he almost immediately believed it. Pausing for a moment, I spoke calmly. President, he should be aware of my identity. I won't hide it from you. Our goal is the entire Qiao family, so naturally, we've come fully prepared. I stared at the man across from me whose expression had slightly changed, and said softly, it's up to you, President if you dare to take this gamble. As the words fell, He Yiming stared at me for a full 10 seconds, just as he was about to speak. Mr. Have you seen enough? Xiao Yan spoke sternly, a dangerous glint in his eyes. I'm telling you. He Yiming almost failed to maintain his authoritative demeanor. She responded irritably that he had a wife. Xiao Yan continued to glare at him. Clearly jealous, I couldn't help but suppress my laughter and quickly hugged my little wolf dog to comfort him. Only then did Xiao Yan calm down, urging He Yiming with a prompt, if it works, it works, if not, we'll find someone else. He Yiming's face turned ashen. He said yes, what more to confirm? With that, the deal was sealed. As I looked at Xiao Yan more, I liked him even more, and couldn't help but kiss him while he was buckling his seatbelt. He frowned at me, warning about the dangers in the car. Oh, so it's fine when we get back. Fine, can you not? He was flustered, his face turning red, unable to voice his objections. I teased, asking how could I not seduce him like this. Suddenly, he let out a deep breath, his dark eyes intently gazing at me. I should be the one to initiate this. After saying this, he gently pressed the back of my neck with one hand and leaned down to kiss me. I suddenly widened my eyes. For a moment, it felt like countless stars burst in the corners of my eyes. My heart stopped beating. Xiao Yan kissed my lips lightly, his movements gentle yet profoundly affectionate. My heart was completely captivated by him. Soon, Xiao Yan and I took a photo of the land in the eastern city. The internet erupted with ridicule and insults. This Qiao family's second son really has issues, buying a piece of unwanted land without even looking. Alas, the older Qiao sibling is so capable. How come the brother is so lacking? If the Qiao Corporation falls into his hands, it wouldn't last half a month. For a time, even the Qiao Corporation's people had complaints about Xiao Yan. Several shareholders even joined together to try to oust him, and even called Xiao Dongliang for this purpose. In the meeting room, Xiao Dongliang placated everyone with a smile, his greedy and selfish nature apparent in every wrinkle on his face. He criticized the recent actions of Xiao Yan with a dismissive remark, turning his head to glance at Xiao Yan, his lips slightly curled downwards. You don't need to worry about the company's affairs for now, just go do whatever you want. What about my shares? Xiao Yan asked. Looking up, Xiao Dongliang frowned unhappily, saying, what do you mean your shares? Those are the Qiao family's. In that instant, Xiao Yan's expression darkened significantly. He remained silent, but the chilling aura he emitted exerted a strong pressure, silencing the entire meeting room. I'll say this only once. Looking at the slightly changing expression of Xiao Dongliang, he enunciated every word, that's not yours or the Qiao family's. It belongs to my mother, you better not touch it. Xiao Dongliang opened his mouth, then coldly said, no one cares about that little bit of shares. Hing Yu, cash it out for him right now and then have him kicked out of the company. No, Xiao Yan coldly met his gaze, stating he didn't want the money. With that statement, the atmosphere in the meeting room instantly tensed. Everyone thought this meant he wasn't settling for a small portion, but aiming for something bigger. However, moments later, Xiao Yan only made one request to Xiao Dongliang. Xiao Dongliang paused, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. but he almost immediately agreed. Beside him, Xiao Hingyu's brow furrowed tightly, his lips moved as if he wanted to speak, but seeing the expression on Xiao Father's face, he held back. I stood aside, frowning, my gaze remained fixed on Xiao Yan throughout, watching his expression grow colder and colder. I felt a sharp tug at my heart, something wasn't right with him. Xiao Yan, shall we go? I thought Xiao Yan might hesitate, show reluctance, or even resist me, but quickly, he turned and walked over. Confidently, he took my hand and we left together, yet, he remained silent until we got into the car. His grip on my hand was slightly tight. Looking down at his hand, I felt a pang of pain. Xiao Yan must have been thinking of his mother. Only after my rebirth did I have his background investigated. Xiao Yan's biological mother had passed away from an illness related to mental health when he was very young. I had seen a photo of his mother, a gentle and beautiful dancer with long hair that reached her waist, often dressed in a beige long skirt. In the photo, Xiao Yan, dressed in a small suit with a bow tie, looked exquisite and handsome. He was being led by his mother, dancing with her in the role of a male dance partner. It was the last dance of her life. Later that winter, his mother died. And the mother of Xiao Hingyu, who was older than him, moved in with her children. What he found even more unbearable was realizing his father had been unfaithful years before. In his agony, he screamed and broke down. But he was just a child and could do nothing. He followed his mother's advice and continued living well, but the pain he suppressed in his heart grew too much, increasingly making it hard for him to control his emotions. Xiao Yan, I called out softly. Xiao Yan looked up immediately and said he was fine. Feeling the increasing pressure in his grip, I sighed and pulled him into my embrace. Speak up if you're upset, curse if you feel like it, don't suppress any emotions in front of me. Xiao Yan shuddered violently and finally let go of my hand. I'm sorry, I hurt you. It's okay, I know you didn't mean it. Xiao Yan didn't respond but lifted his arms to embrace me. A few seconds later, I heard muffled sobs close to my heart. Xiao Yan took deep breaths, hugging my waist tighter and tighter. Feeling his pain, I couldn't help but tear up myself. What people fear most isn't death, but living alone. That's true for both him and me, but together in each other's arms, we would never be alone again. Don't worry, I'm here. After an indeterminate amount of time, the person in my arms struggled slightly. Jiang Yi, it's stuffy. Startled, I let go of Xiao Yan. He quickly moved back to the driver's seat, his ears red as if bleeding. Veins on his neck stood out prominently. I glanced down at the creased fabric on my chest and lightly raised an eyebrow. Stuffy, you seem to be enjoying it. Xiao Yan's face flushed instantly, and he started the car in haste. I chuckled, the gloom in my heart clearing away. Later, Xiao Yan moved out of the Qiao family home. He bought a house on his own. Over the years, he had saved money from racing bets and stock investments. I helped him organize the house, arrange the furniture, and turn the place into a home. He listened to everything I said, claiming that being a man, he wasn't too fussy. I hummed in response, should we get a double bathtub then, or make the small bathroom in the bedroom have transparent glass? Right, the bed in the bedroom isn't big enough, we need to buy a bigger one. Xiao Yan's face turned unnatural, and he stuttered asking why. I tiptoed and whispered in his ear with a light laugh, what if it's not enough for us? Xiao Yan tensed up, his Adam's apple bobbing quickly. Seeing his embarrassed look made my heart flutter. I was about to stop teasing him, but in the next second, he lifted me by the waist and threw me onto the bed, pressing down on me before I could bounce back. Then came a flurry of kisses. Jiang Yi, what kind of engagement party do you want? He asked, gripping my hand after the kiss. I paused, only then remembering that we had an engagement party to organize. Being from prestigious families, we had to follow certain protocols. Thinking it over, I said I'd go with whatever he suggested, as I didn't have any particular ideas. After all, both engagements and weddings weren't very appealing to me. Xiao Yan stayed silent for a moment, then just held me without a word. Half a month later, on the eve of our engagement party, the internet exploded. The plot of land Xiao Yan and I had was taken over by the government. They planned to develop the area heavily, with substantial investment expected. The main beneficiaries would naturally be the landowners and related personnel. When He Yiming called, Xiao Yan and I were at his small company. Yes, he now owned a company. He had cut off his mother's shares and started this company unrelated to the Qiao family business. Qiao Dongliang was more than happy. He considered Xiao Yan staying as a calamity for the Qiao family and was eager to push him out. But he and Xiao Hingyu probably couldn't guess that this was all part of our plan. Only by completely severing ties with the Chow family could we can only breathe easy once the Chow family falls from power, Mr. Chow. I'm sure you've seen the news about that plot of land on the internet, someone mentioned. He Min thanked them and then stated that he was ready to help whenever needed. Xiao Yan probably still held a grudge from last time, as he responded coolly and abruptly hung up the phone. However, when he turned to look at me, he transformed into a puppy. His eyes sparkled as he leaped towards me. Tired, I said. I patted his head soothingly. Just hang on a little longer, it's almost over. After a pause, Xiao Yan suddenly asked me how I planned to deal with Xiao Hengyu. The online sentiment towards him has already started to sour, and many partners are defecting. Should we take this opportunity to bring him down and ruin his reputation? No. I looked at Xiao Yan's sharply contoured face and said that would only ruin him financially, not his reputation. I want him to taste true despair. Xiao Yan looked up at me, and after a moment, he placed his hand on my forehead. I will do everything in my power to help you. Don't frown. I was taken aback and felt a twinge in my nose. Later that afternoon, I said I had some things to take care of and parted ways with Xiao Yan. Standing in front of the club, my body began to tremble uncontrollably. Even digging my fingernails into my palm didn't help. This place was Xiao Hengyu's private club and my personal nightmare. He kept a group of high-class ladies here to vent for him and some so-called big shots. I had seen girls being carried out of rooms covered in blood multiple times. Those who came here were not human, they were less than trash. After a moment, I closed my eyes and stepped inside. Having been reborn, I had already started making plans and had planted spies inside. I reached a floor that only VIPs could access and heard faint noises from the rooms. There were unbearable screams and desperate cries for help. Under the bizarre lighting, it was like a twisted hell. I walked through it, feeling as if every part of my body was in agony, but I kept moving forward. After meeting with my informant, I had them hand over everything they had recorded. Watching the videos of girls being abused and mistreated, I clenched my fingers tightly. After handling things there, I prepared to leave. Just as I reached the staircase, I saw Xiao Hengyu approaching with a trembling girl in his arms, his gaze cold and bloodthirsty. My heart sank, and I quickly retreated. For a moment, I didn't know whether to go forward or back. Going forward could ruin everything I had worked for. Retreating could doom the girl tonight. Miss Jiang, it's time for you to leave, my subordinate said sternly after Xiao Hengyu had left. I stood still for a few seconds, then shut my eyes tightly. Go back, find a way to save that girl. Xiao Hengyu has been frustrated these days, he could kill her in his anger, I said. My subordinate tried to stop me, saying he wasn't beastly enough to kill someone just like that. He will, I insisted, suppressing the trembling in my heart. I know him better than anyone. My subordinate looked at me, opened his mouth to speak, but then simply nodded his head. As I expected, by the time the girl was rescued, she had already been severely beaten. Xiao Hengyu had made her lie naked on broken glass and lashed her viciously with a wet whip. Apart from her face, her entire body, including her private parts, was shockingly brutalized. Xiao Hengyu seemed like a madman lost in frenzy, growing more excited as he assaulted her. While he was strangling the girl and enjoying her gasps for breath, one of his men burst in, announcing that there was trouble downstairs and that the police were being called. In that moment, Xiao Hengyu turned his head and looked like a demon, but he quickly regained his composure. He not only changed into clean clothes but also calmly instructed his men on how to deal with the girl. I hid in the shadows, watching his face, feeling as if my chest would explode. Once his men informed me that the girl had been rescued, I immediately left the club. In the car, one of his men looked at me through the rearview mirror. Miss Jiang, are you alright? I suddenly looked up, tugging at my soaked collar, and muttered that I was fine. Should we go back to the Jiang residence? There's your engagement party tomorrow morning. No, head to the Shizi Bay Villa. I looked out the window, with only Xiao Yan's face on my mind. At that moment, all I wanted was to see him. What I never expected was that Xiao Hengyu had prepared such a big surprise for me. Seeing that Xiao Yan's villa was completely dark, I sensed something was wrong and hurried upstairs. The moment I smelled the blood, my heart sank drastically. I burst through the bedroom door. In the next second, I stood frozen in place. I saw a naked woman lying at the bathroom door, her forehead marked with dried blood. Xiao Yan was sitting on the floor next to the bathtub, clutching a dagger tightly. But the dagger was pointed not at someone else, but at himself. It was his own blood-soaked arm. His eyes were hollow, terrifyingly so, and his face was devoid of any color. he looked like a walking corpse. Seeing me, he paused for half a second, then picked up the dagger and stabbed again. No, I lunged forward, grabbing Qiao Yan's hand tightly. His strength was surprisingly great, but he remained stuck in place with me. I quickly turned my head, instructing my men to fetch a sedative from the car. My men hurried downstairs. "Ah Yan, it's me. I'm back." I freed one hand to lift Qiao Yan's face, forcing him to see me clearly. He was soaking wet and trembling uncontrollably, yet he still shifted his gaze to me. "Jiang Yi, it's me." In that instant, a pained expression crossed Qiao Yan's face. He struggled, grabbing my clothes but also trying to push me away. He kept murmuring my name, telling me to leave, saying he would hurt me. I said nothing, just held on to his hand tightly. Soon my men came in and administered the sedative to Qiao Yan. He was still clutching my hand tightly as he passed out. I asked my men to help move him to the bed, never letting go of him. After a moment, I spoke hoarsely, "Check if that woman is still breathing." My men turned to look. In those few seconds, countless outcomes and contingencies flashed through my mind. The girl on the floor was no ordinary person. She was a wealthy young lady who had been clinging to Qiao Yan at the bar earlier. Zhou Tian, if she were dead, Miss Jiang. I paused, tilting my head slightly. "The woman isn't dead, just injured on the forehead." My men paused, then added, "Judging from her physical symptoms, it looks like she's been drugged." I blinked, my mind going blank for a moment. I looked down at the soaked bathrobe on Qiao Yan. I nodded slightly. "Understood. Get a doctor here to check her blood." "Yes." My subordinate left with Zhou Tian, and the room fell completely silent. I stayed by Qiao Yan's side, feeling a chill spreading slowly within me. If I'm not mistaken, there must be reporters lurking around Qiao Yan's villa. They are eagerly watching, waiting to dig up a scandal involving Qiao Yan and Zhou Tian, making tomorrow's engagement party a backdrop for our scandalous reputation. I clenched my fists tightly and lowered my eyes slowly. "Qiao Hengyu, since you are so eager, tomorrow will be your end." More than an hour later, Qiao Yan woke up. He sat up abruptly, bending forward like a leopard ready to pounce. In almost the next second, his fist nearly swung towards me. However, when he saw clearly who I was, he hesitated, then suddenly pulled me into his embrace. "Jiang Yi," with a heavy breath, he said in a deep voice that it wasn't a hallucination. "Xiao Yi, I'm sorry." Hearing this, I closed my eyes. My throat was sore, and I couldn't bring myself to say it's okay. But the next second, I heard Qiao Yan say, "You said you didn't like people entering our home randomly." "I'm sorry." My remaining clear consciousness steadied, and I vaguely sensed something. "What else?" Qiao Yan murmured that there was nothing more. "I didn't touch her, nor did I even look at her. I used an object to hit her, not my hand." I was stunned for a moment. Feeling both amused and slightly relieved, I knew very well that even if Qiao Yan really did something with her, I couldn't blame him, but knowing the truth at this moment, I still felt fortunate. "Qiao Yan, thank you. Thank you for placing me at the top of your heart. Thank you for hurting yourself to stay clear-headed. Thank you for everything you've done for me." After Qiao Yan fully recovered, Zhou Tian downstairs also woke up. She was crying bitterly, claiming she was framed and drugged, yet she never dared to look up at Qiao Yan. Seeing her like this, I almost wanted to laugh. Qiao Yan had already told me the whole story. He came home and saw Zhou Tian, who had been drugged. Zhou Tian was crying and begging him to help her. He originally didn't want to intervene, but then he noticed reporters hiding in the dark. If Zhou Tian were to leave like this, the young girl's reputation would be completely ruined. She might even become a target for those with ill intentions. Reluctantly, he had to bring her into the villa, but he forbade her from going upstairs. Unexpectedly, this woman recklessly stripped and went upstairs trying to seduce Qiao Yan. When Qiao Yan was moving her out of the car, he accidentally inhaled some of the drug powder, which was already mentally fragile. So, at the moment he saw Zhou Tian, he didn't hesitate. He picked up something and knocked her out. But under the stimulation of the blood and drugs, his own emotions were also ignited. In the end, he had to harm himself to maintain his clarity. Thinking of the glaring wounds on Qiao Yan's arm, my heart felt blocked. I coldly glanced at Zhou Tian and threw out Qiao Hengyu's name, telling her that it was most likely Qiao Hengyu who wanted to trap her. But remember this, if it weren't for your own foolish actions today, none of this might have happened. Zhou Tian bit her lip hard, looking pitiful. I wasn't swayed at all, and sternly told her, "I'm telling you. If it weren't for me and Qiao Yan today, you would have been torn apart by other men by now." I'll hold you responsible for Qiao Yan's injury. If you know what's good for you, I advise you to follow my instructions, he said. Zhou Tian turned pale with fright, seeing that Qiao Yan couldn't even be bothered to glance at her. She finally faced the reality. She slowly lowered her head, and finally said, I'll listen to you. The next morning, the engagement party went on as planned. Journalists staking out near Qiao Yan's villa didn't capture anything noteworthy, only photos of Qiao Yan and I happily coming and going. Upon arriving at the banquet hall, I immediately noticed Qiao Hengyu in a corner. His face looked awful as he listened to someone next to him. After the person finished speaking, his face was filled with nothing but gloom. Turning his head, he quickly instructed his subordinates with a few words, watching his defensive posture. The irritation in my heart gradually dissipated. It had begun. Soon after, the banquet started. Qiao Hengyu's complexion grew increasingly worse. He kept answering phone calls and angrily issuing orders to his subordinates, but it was all in vain. I glanced at my phone and saw the news had already broken. Qiao Corporation was suspected of tax evasion and was under investigation. Jiang Yi, did you orchestrate this? Suddenly, Qiao Hengyu's voice came from across the room. I slightly lifted my head to meet his intensely grim face. Have you lost your mind? What good does it do your family if the Qiao family falls? If you want to be with Qiao Yan, then be with him. No one is stopping you. Why the hell are you targeting our family? When have I ever wronged you? He said. I looked at the man in front of me going mad, silently recollecting the past life. In this life, he indeed hadn't started hurting me yet. But the vile things he had done were enough for him to die 100 times over. Seeing that I remained silent, the madness in Qiao Hengyu's eyes nearly overflowed. He stepped forward and abruptly grabbed my arm, insisting we talk somewhere else. Let go, I said. The moment he touched me, my body convulsed. He gripped me tightly, as if trying to crush me. Looking at his expression, fear rapidly spread within me, and I instantly lost all strength. Don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch her. The next second, Qiao Yan suddenly appeared and fiercely knocked Qiao Hengyu to the ground with a punch. His eyes were bloodshot, and he radiated an unusual, bloodthirsty aura. Before Qiao Hengyu could get up, Qiao Yan struck him several more times. Regaining my senses, thinking he was having an episode, I quickly intervened. Yan, you don't need to dirty your hands. Qiao Yan landed another heavy punch that knocked Qiao Hengyu's face askew. Being mindful of me, he finally stopped. But the anger in his eyes did not diminish, fixating deadly on Qiao Hengyu. I was puzzled by his reaction but couldn't dwell on it further. I pulled him aside. Soon, the entire banquet hall's guests gathered around. Seeing Qiao Yan beating someone, they began murmuring among themselves. Openly and secretly, they labeled Qiao Yan a madman. Some, out of fear, left the venue immediately. In the ensuing chaos, I gradually regained my composure. I asked Qiao Yan what was wrong. He shook his head without speaking, his face still looking terrible. I had to set it aside for the moment and told him all the evidence was ready. He coldly stared at Qiao Hengyu in the distance and said, then let's begin. As the hall was engulfed in chaos, a video suddenly started playing on the big screen. The first half of the video consisted of photos, each photo enlarging one by one. The content above is all about the Qiao family. It documents the illicit money earned by the Qiao family over the years through cunning and social connections. It also chronicles the illegal activities carried out with internal personnel after Qiao Hengyu took over the company. Finally, the video exposed numerous high-ranking officials and even shareholders of the company engaging in corrupt and illicit exchanges of power for sexual favors. Ugly faces appeared on the screen, and the faces of the Qiao family's high-ranking officials, who had come for the reputation of the Qiao family, drastically changed. My God, what is all this? Mad? Has the Qiao family gone mad? Huh? I heard that Qiao Hengyu was talented and promising, but this is the kind of promise he had. The Qiao family is done for this time. No telling who set them up. Be careful what you say, or the police might take you in for questioning too. Amidst the noisy crowd, Qiao Hengyu became the target of public anger. Countless people pointed fingers and criticized him harshly, deeming him worthless. Some even said that it was his fault that the Qiao family had come to this sorry state. With a bruised face, Qiao Hengyu shuffled through the crowd, his face a mix of blue and red. Just then, a cry of surprise burst from the crowd. What's that? Qiao Hengyu's private club. Everyone turned towards the sound and saw the video playing on the screen. It showed footage from Qiao Hengyu's club. The girls in the video were pixelated, but their plight was evident. watching some beasts in human skin abusing and torturing them. The audience fell into dead silence, and Xiao Hingyu, watching those videos, was stunned on the spot, watching his face slowly being overtaken by despair. My heart finally felt somewhat relieved. You're welcome, you deserved all of this, bastards. These animals are bastards, morality is declining, how can such filthy and disgusting acts happen around us? This Xiao Hingyu is truly a beast, he deserves to die. Angry curses filled the air, and everyone's faces were full of outrage, regardless of their own private misdeeds. At this moment, they all had to be the righteous ones who condemned the villain. Smack. Someone slapped Xiao Hingyu hard on the face, cursing him shamelessly. The video showed a group of girls about the size of their own daughters. How dare Xiao Hingyu do such a thing? That slap seemed to trigger something. Many surged forward, pushing and cursing at Xiao Hingyu. Xiao Hingyu was in a pitiful state, his face full of terror. He desperately tried to dodge and push his way out of the crowd, but he failed several times. Under immense torment, he let out a heart-wrenching scream. At the same moment, the sound of police sirens approached from outside. Xiao Hingyu fled. As the police arrived, he took advantage of the chaos to slip away from the crowd, but I had already cut off his other escapes, leaving him only a dead end. I told the police he might try to escape overseas by water. The police were skeptical but quickly dispatched officers. Meanwhile, Xiao Yan and I stayed in the banquet hall until all the guests had left. We stood on the stage, exchanged engagement rings, and shared a gentle kiss. Sensing something was still off with Xiao Yan, I frowned and asked him what was wrong. Seeing my displeasure, he gripped my hand tighter. After my persistent questioning, he finally mentioned that he knew about my visit to Xiao Hingyu's underground club last night. I paused for half a second, then asked, and then, a sudden rage flared in his eyes as he said in a deep voice, he also saw the girl I had rescued. That girl, named Chen Yi. Chen Yi, yes. Xiao Yan said hoarsely. Xiao Hingyu had people look specifically for a girl who resembled you. I was suddenly taken aback, suddenly recalling the girl's features. They did indeed somewhat resemble mine. My heart sank slightly, I felt slightly nauseous. There was no way that scumbag Xiao Hingyu had any genuine feelings for me. It was probably jealousy that he harbored but couldn't vent directly on me, so he targeted someone similar to me instead. Damn it. Xiao Yan suddenly kicked over a chair nearby, exclaiming that he wished he could kill that beast Xiao Hingyu. Looking at his furious face, I strangely found myself feeling calmer. Thankfully, nothing had gone awry. Thankfully, Xiao Yan was here. Gently cradling Xiao Yan's face, I kissed him without another word. Xiao Yan's breathing grew heavy, and seconds later, he lifted me up onto the table. The siege commenced. Xiao's corporation was officially declared bankrupt. Xiao Dongliang went to prison, and Xiao's mother received a suspended sentence. The Jiang family, caught up in the fallout, had most of their assets confiscated and my father was stripped of his position, but thanks to my prior precautions, their reputation remained unscathed. That was the greatest assurance I could provide. I arranged a new place for them to live and then moved in with Xiao Yan to the home we had set up together. After settling me in, Xiao Yan was about to leave again but I stopped him. Xiao Hingyu will be caught sooner or later, you don't need to rush this. Xiao Yan hesitated, and I pretended to be displeased. What, am I no longer attractive to you? Have you stopped valuing me now that you have me? With those words, Xiao Yan turned around and came back without a word. He rested his head in the crook of my neck like a big dog, rubbing against me, and finally muttered that he wouldn't feel at peace until Xiao Hingyu was caught. I said I understood, but we shouldn't waste our time over such trash. We're engaged now. Do you really want your bride to spend her nights alone? His expression changed before I even finished speaking. Jiang Yi, it's only 9 o'clock, are you sure? I laughed. The kid was wild. It's only 9, so let's go to bed early. I'm not asking you to battle until dawn. Xiao Yan looked at me silently, his ears turning red. I was delighted inside, teasing him, saying, you're not incapable, are you? After that, I was carried back to the room by Xiao Yan and thoroughly schooled. When I drifted off to sleep, it was just past midnight. Ah Yan, I'm here. Hearing Xiao Yan's deep voice, I fell into a deep sleep, but I didn't know how much time had passed when I was suddenly gripped so tightly I could barely breathe. Half awake, I realized Xiao Yan had sat up at some point, his arm tightly around me. Feeling his unease, I frowned and hugged him back, asking what was wrong. That was a shock. For some reason, he was covered in cold sweat. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Or are you feeling unwell? Speak to me, don't scare me. Ah Yan, it's nothing. I'm fine, but Xiao Yan held me tight, saying he just missed me. Jiang Yi, I love you. I was startled, but before I could react, he kissed me fiercely. The next second, he tore off the nightgown I had just changed into before bed. Here, 500 words are omitted. Upon waking again, I felt as if I had been repeatedly run over by a car wheel. Lifting my arm took an eternity. After grinding my molars, I cursed under my breath. Seriously, is this supposed to be a one-time fix? Am I never coming back in my life? Xiao Yan, get in here, I shouted hoarsely, but there was no response from outside. I frowned. I thought to myself, if this scoundrel dares to leave me alone in bed this early in the morning, I'll make him pay. And have him be my sister. Just as I set foot on the ground, a figure hurried over. Xiao Yan came running in with breakfast, and when he saw me getting out of bed barefoot, he shouted for me to stop. Don't move. He set down the breakfast, came over, and pinched my ankle as if to punish me, then helped me put on my shoes. I was somewhat flattered, yet felt it was only right. After all, he's my man. With a smirk, I asked him what he had made. He admitted he wasn't much of a cook and had just whipped up some porridge. Then he brought the porridge over and even pretended to feed me. I pushed him away, speechless, saying I wasn't in confinement. Xiao Yan just looked at me and smiled, his eyes unbelievably tender. Looking at him, I was suddenly struck. The image of him holding my ashes and jumping into the sea in my previous life flashed through my mind. His expression was almost identical to now. A warmth spread through my heart, and I leaned in to hug him gently. Xiao Hingyu died. He died this morning at 5. It was said that he died on the way back after being captured. Some said it was a sudden illness, others said poisoning, and still others said he was shot. I couldn't know for certain, nor did I want to know any more, because I was very aware. Xiao Yan had stepped out that morning, stretching lazily. I walked out to the balcony to enjoy the sunlight. It seemed that at this moment, I had truly walked out from the darkness. The days ahead were bright and long, filled with limitless light. Jiang Yi, let's get married. Xiao Yan embraced me from behind. I smiled and agreed. Then I'll have someone prepare now, and we'll have the wedding and register tomorrow. I was stunned. Who gets engaged one day and married the next? But I've been waiting a long time, a very long time. Xiao Yan looked at me intently, his eyes filled with sincerity and passion. Looking at the man before me, my heart softened bit by bit. After a long pause, I smiled and nodded. Let's do it. Extra 1. Xiao Yan, the night I truly got together with Jiang Yi, I had a nightmare. It resolved all the doubts I had for a long time. In the dream, Jiang Yi didn't choose me, but chose Xiao Hingyu. Like everyone else, she believed Xiao Hingyu was excellent and good. I didn't think so. I knew he was scheming and deceitful, but if he could be good to Jiang Yi, if Jiang Yi was willing, I was ready to step back. What I never expected was, Xiao Hingyu was a beast. The day before their wedding, he messed around outside and was caught by Jiang Yi. Not only did he not admit his mistake, but he also slapped Jiang Yi, telling her she had no way out. I was furious, wanting to rush up and kill him. I discovered that it was all just a dream. In that dream, I had already left the scene, overwhelmed by despair. What followed flashed by like a carousel, leaving an indelible mark on my soul. I saw Xiao Hingyu flirting with others openly, yet treating Jiang Yi coldly when he returned. Jiang Yi, deeply disappointed, considered leaving the Qiao family to work elsewhere. When Xiao Hingyu found out, he flew into a rage and struck her. There she lay on the ground, blood steadily streaming from a wound on her forehead until it stopped by itself. My heart trembled with pain, but I could only stand at a distance and watch. What happened next was more like a horrific nightmare. Xiao Hingyu became increasingly violent, venting all his frustrations on Jiang Yi when he returned home. Not only that, but he started taking Jiang Yi out to social events. Initially, it was just drinking, but it later escalated to inappropriate touching. Eventually, it led to sexual relations. At that moment, I felt as if I had died. I desperately searched for myself within the dream, and finally, I found me, only to discover that in the dream, I had been framed by Xiao Hingyu, resulting in a car accident that left me with a broken leg. Leading to my downfall, I didn't dare go back to even glance at Jiang Yi. I understood, but I couldn't accept it. I had actually met Jiang Yi once when I was very young. At that time, my mother was still alive, and I sneaked out of the villa to play, only to be bullied by nearby kids. They called me the son of a little lunatic themselves. They beat me with sticks and demanded that I kneel and bow. That's when Jiang Yi appeared, dressed in a pretty, clean princess dress. She threatened those kids, saying she'd tell her father if they continued to bully me. knowing who her father was. The kids quickly ran off. Jiangyi didn't pay any attention to me and left, bouncing away with her braids swinging. She forgot me, but I remembered her. It wasn't until university that I had the fortune to meet her again. From then on, I was completely captivated. The girl I cherished was now being trampled and humiliated, yet, I couldn't even hold her. I could only watch as she was tortured to the point of preferring death, slowly breaking down. When I saw her take out a knife to end her life, my heart nearly burst. I desperately pleaded, crying out loudly, asking her to wait, just wait for me to find a way to save her. She didn't die in the end, but she was already like a walking corpse. I was in agony, and it felt like it wasn't just a dream, but reality. If it really was a dream, I beg her to wake up, later, as I wished. Jiangyi's nightmare ended. It stopped with the car accident orchestrated by Qiao Hengyu. She was hit so badly, her body shattered, her already gaunt face ghastly, yet, I still found her beautiful. I reached out, hoping to touch her, and to my surprise, I actually did. In that moment, I merged with the self that appeared in my dream. Together, we kissed Jiangyi's corpse, shared our pain, and went mad together. Together, we turned the Qiao family upside down and killed Qiao Hengyu. The moment we jumped into the sea, I finally held my Jiangyi tightly. In the next life, could we meet earlier, please?